Tomorrow! After all, tomorrow is another day.
Gone with the Wind. Chapter 1. 16-year-old Scarlett O'Hara jumped down from her father's carriage and stood still for a moment. She made herself calm, smoothed her hair, and looked at her surroundings. Scarlett and her father and sisters had just arrived at a large plantation called 12 Oaks, which belonged to the Wilkes family. The O'Haras also owned a nearby plantation, which was called Tara. It was not as old or beautiful as 12 Oaks, but Scarlett loved it just as much. It was a beautiful spring day in the year 1861, and the Wilkes family was having a barbecue party. As Scarlett looked around, it seemed to her that all the people in the American state of Georgia had been invited. The large green lawn in front of the house was filled with talking and laughing. It was too early for the barbecue meat to be eaten, but the wonderful smell of roasting pork and chicken filled the air. As Scarlett stood in front of the carriage, watching her father and sisters greet the others, she could hardly wait for the party to begin. Scarlett O'Hara was not beautiful, but many men and boys were in love with her. There was something very pretty about her face, though, with long black curls and large green eyes that looked like a cat's. Her waist was tiny, and her soft skin was like peaches and cream. On this day, Scarlett had chosen her best dress and done her hair especially nicely, because today was not like other days. This was the day that Scarlett would finally tell Ashley Wilkes the truth about herself, that she was in love with him. When she entered the Wilkes house, the first thing Scarlett did was to look for Ashley, but she did not see him anywhere. However, her friends Stuart and Brent Tarleton had seen Scarlett arrive, and they went over to say hello. Stuart and Brent, who were twins, were cheerful, handsome boys who had been interested in Scarlett for years. They were clearly happy to see Scarlett, and she promised them many dances. However, her mind was on Ashley. Scarlett could not believe that there was ever a time when she did not love Ashley Wilkes, the oldest child of the wealthy and respected Wilkes family. Scarlett and Ashley had known each other since they were children. Their fathers were very good friends. Scarlett had not paid much attention to Ashley when they were growing up. She had thought he was too quiet and serious. And Scarlett was neither quiet nor serious. But one day 2 years ago, Ashley had returned from a long stay in Europe and had come to visit the O'Haras. Scarlett had been sitting on the porch with her younger sisters, Sue Ellen and Karine, when he rode up on his horse. When she saw him, Scarlett felt her heart begin to pound. How Ashley had changed! He was handsome, elegant, and mysterious. Ever since that day, she had loved him and wanted him. Scarlett wanted Ashley the way she wanted air to breathe or food to eat. It was a deep need, and she could not understand it. But she did not try, because Scarlett did not think about things very much. She was not a serious girl, and she did not understand people and their emotions. Ashley was not like the other boys who had flirted with her, brought her flowers, and asked her to dances and parties. Scarlett was used to being the prettiest girl at a party and getting the most attention from boys. Truthfully, Scarlett thought that men were the most interesting thing in the world. She was the sort of girl who did not have girlfriends. To her, other girls were enemies in the search for men. It was true that Ashley had never told Scarlett he loved her. Unlike Scarlett, who usually said exactly what she thought, Ashley was quiet. And yet, Scarlett knew that he loved her. It was a strong, deep belief that had no reason. But Scarlett had seen the way he often looked at her. He looked at her as if he was starving and she was food. These looks of Ashley's sent chills down Scarlett's back. Why hadn't he told her that he loved her? Scarlett couldn't understand. But then there were lots of things about Ashley that she couldn't understand. No one really knew him very well. He was just as good at dancing, gambling, hunting, and drinking as any of the other boys she knew, yet Ashley was different. These kinds of activities were not the goal of life to him. Ashley enjoyed more serious things like music, books, and poetry. Scarlett guessed that he did not want to be a rich plantation owner like his father. Oh, why was he so interesting? He was like a closed door, and she couldn't find the key. Many times, Scarlett had tried to discover the reason why she loved him. After all, she thought books and poetry were boring. The mystery of Ashley burned in Scarlett's simple heart. The things about him that she didn't understand only made her want him more. Although Scarlett appeared smiling and happy on the day of the party, her mind and heart were deeply afraid. The day before, Scarlett had heard something terrible. Ashley was supposed to marry his cousin, Melanie Hamilton, sometime soon. However, because Scarlett believed that Ashley truly loved her, she had decided to take him away from Melanie. Scarlett stood in the Wilkes home, talking to the Tarleton boys and her friend, Kathleen Calvert. Suddenly, she noticed a man staring at her whom she had never seen before. He did not look like a local person. He was well-dressed and looked as if he came from the city. He looked about 35 and was tall, strong, and very handsome. His skin was dark, like a pirate's, and his thick, curly hair was black. When the man saw her looking at him, he smiled like a wolf. There was a look of humor in his eyes. Scarlett caught her breath. Good heavens! That man looks as if he knows what I look like without my clothes on, she thought, and suddenly turned red. She felt as if she should be insulted by this man, but somehow she was not. Seeing her confusion, the man smiled even wider and turned away. Scarlett and Kathleen decided to go upstairs and fix their hair. Now you boys stay here and wait for me. Don't you go anywhere or I'll be angry, Scarlett said sweetly to Stuart and Brent. Both boys stared after her eagerly as she walked away. While the two girls were fixing their hair, Scarlett said to Kathleen,
Kathleen, who is that nasty man downstairs? The tall one with the black hair.
Kathleen smiled. Darling, don't you know? That's Rhett Butler. He's the man whom we've heard about. The one who was forced to leave the West Point school. And now, people are saying he killed a man because of some terrible situation with a girl. Really, he's got the worst reputation. As she spoke, Kathleen looked as if she thought Rhett Butler's reputation was the best thing she had ever heard of. Scarlett, who loved gossip, laughed. Kathy, What did he do with the girl? Scarlett, didn't you hear about this? Caroline told me all about it last summer. Well, Mr. Butler and this girl from Charleston went out riding in a carriage together, and they stayed out all night. The next morning, they came back to her father's house, and Rhett said that the horse had run away and they had gotten lost in the woods, and Mr. Butler refused to marry her after all that. Kathleen looked shocked. He said she was a stupid fool and he hadn't done anything to her, so there wasn't any reason why he should marry her. So the girl's brother got angry and had a duel with him, and Rhett killed him. That's why he had to leave Charleston. Now, no one who's important in society will speak to him. Scarlett was amazed and interested. She had never heard of anything so terrible. In those days, young, innocent girls were very interested in stories about men and girls who had been bad. Although Scarlett was not going to speak to Rhett Butler, she secretly felt respect for him for refusing to marry a girl who was a fool. When Scarlett went downstairs, she ran into Charles Hamilton, Melanie's brother.
"Hello, Miss Scarlett,"
he said shyly. Charles was a kind, quiet boy with soft brown hair and large brown eyes, like a puppy's. He was terribly shy with girls, and so he could not believe it when Scarlett spoke to him. Scarlett wanted to make Ashley jealous, in case he was watching her. She gave Charles her sweetest smile and said, "Why, Charles Hamilton, did you come here all the way from Atlanta just to break my poor little heart?" Scarlett put her hand on Charles's arm. "Now remember to sit with me at the barbecue. You are just the boy I want to talk to." Charles did not know what to say. Beautiful Scarlett O'Hara, who could have any boy she wanted, was talking to him. He felt 1,000 times taller.
Why, of course I will, Miss Scarlett,"
he said, and Scarlett danced away. All through the morning and into the afternoon, Scarlett talked and laughed with many boys. Scarlett's prettiness, her laughter, and her charm attracted so many boys that the other girls were looking at her angrily. However, inside she was unhappy. She had only seen Ashley once that day. He and Melanie had welcomed her to the party, but Scarlett had not seen him alone. He was always with Melanie. Why? Now, as Scarlett watched them, Melanie and Ashley were sitting quietly under a tree and talking together. Melanie's plain, thin little face was shining with love and happiness. Scarlett wondered what they were talking about. Probably boring things like music and poetry. Melanie Hamilton was a small girl from Atlanta who was deeply loved by everyone who met her, especially adults. She had a kind heart and a truly sweet manner. Melanie was very different from other people because she always thought the best of everyone. As Scarlett stared at Melanie, full of fear and jealousy, she had to admit that today Melanie looked almost pretty. Her pale skin was the color of roses, and her huge brown eyes glowed as she stared up at Ashley. Scarlett decided she had to try harder to get Ashley to notice her. She flirted with Charles Hamilton and the Tarleton boys as well. She hoped that the boys would fight over her so that Ashley would notice, but he never even looked in her direction as he and Melanie walked away, arm in arm. So Scarlett was miserable. Suddenly, she saw Rhett Butler staring at her again. There was a look of cool humor in his eyes. Scarlett had the strange feeling that Rhett knew exactly what was bothering her. Furious, she tossed her black curls and gave him an angry look. Suddenly, Ashley's mother came out of the house and told everyone that it was time for the afternoon rest. Smiling at the boys around her, Scarlett got up and walked up to the house slowly so that everyone could admire her. As she walked, Scarlett made a firm decision. She would sneak out of the girls' room when everyone was asleep and find Ashley. She would tell him she had to talk to him, and they would go somewhere alone. Then she would tell him her true feelings. Suddenly, Scarlett heard some loud, angry conversation coming from a group of men, including Rhett Butler, Ashley, and the Tarleton boys. They were discussing the possibility of a great war with the Northern American states. This topic bored all the ladies, especially Scarlett. But when Scarlett heard Rhett Butler speaking, she stopped to listen. She was curious to hear what he had to say. He was talking in a calm, cool voice.
Have any of you fine Southern gentlemen thought that there's not a chance we can win this war? As Napoleon once said, God is on the side of the strongest army, and we are not strong.
Sir, what do you mean?
Asked Charles Hamilton angrily.
I mean that we don't have iron or weapons factories like the North does. We don't have a single warship. All the men in the South are talking the way you boys are, confidently, as if we could really beat the North. I am from the South, as you all know, but I have spent time in the North as well. Up there, they've got tons of immigrants and free black people who will gladly fight for them. They've got plenty of soldiers, food, and weapons. All we have here is cotton, slaves, and too much pride.
Rhett laughed coldly.
Oh, but I am sure that you gentlemen have thought of these things,
he said sarcastically.
Now, if you gentlemen will excuse me, I am going inside.
What is he saying? Why, he's saying that our Southern boys are fools, thought Scarlett. She wanted to feel angry at Rhett for speaking badly of the South, but a small part of her thought that his words made sense.
But there was more war talk.
Quickly, she turned her mind back to Ashley and hurried inside. Chapter 2. When Scarlett was sure that Melanie and the other girls were asleep, she got out of her bed and walked downstairs. She looked out of a window and saw Ashley walking into the house. Alone. Scarlett's heart began to pound. Now was her chance. As Ashley opened the door and stepped into the house, Scarlett came forward. "Hello, Ashley."
Scarlett?
Ashley smiled down at her warmly.
I haven't seen you all day. Are you hiding from Charles and the Tarleton boys?
He said.
Aren't you tired?
No, I'm not tired, said Scarlett, her voice shaking. There was a hot glow in her face and a strong, determined look in her eyes. She could see that Ashley was curious. Ashley, I have to talk to you. Now. Ashley looked surprised.
Why, Scarlett, what's the matter? Come into the library.
They went into the cool, dark library, and Ashley closed the door behind him.
What is it that you wanted to tell me, Scarlett?
A secret. I love you. For a long moment, Ashley looked at her and said nothing. He stared at her so intensely that Scarlett thought she might faint. "Oh, why doesn't he answer me?" she thought. Finally, he smiled.
Why, Scarlett, I'm honored. You've always had my heart, you know.
His words were too cheerful and his eyes were full of pain, but Scarlett did not notice. "Oh, Ashley, don't tease me, please. I mean what I say. I know I've never told you until now, but—" Scarlett didn't know what to say. Why didn't they just stop talking so Ashley could kiss her? "Oh, Ashley, kiss me. I love you. I've waited so long for you." Scarlett leaned in close to him.
Stop it, Scarlett.
Ashley's voice was soft but harsh, and his hands grabbed her by the shoulders.
You must not say these things. You'll hate yourself for saying them, and you'll hate me for hearing them, I promise you.
Ashley, what are you talking about? I couldn't ever hate you. I love you, and I know you must care about me, because... Scarlett stopped speaking. Ashley, you do care about me, don't you? Ashley turned away from her.
Yes,
he said softly, as if speaking to himself.
I do. How could I not love you? You have all the passion for life that I do not.
Scarlett was speechless. It was true. She had been right all along. So, then you'll marry me? Oh, Ashley! Scarlett cried. Ashley turned around.
Scarlett, forget I ever said that. We're going to leave this room and forget all about this conversation.
But why, Ashley? Don't you want to marry me? Asked Scarlett. Ashley's face was white.
Scarlett,
he said,
I'm going to marry Melanie. I should have told you before, but I thought you knew about it months ago. My father is going to announce our engagement tonight at the ball. I never thought that you felt... You always had so many boys around you.
He stopped speaking, staring at her unhappily. Scarlett tried to listen to him, but she had only understood one thing. What she had heard was true. Ashley was going to marry Melanie. Ashley continued.
Oh, Scarlett, do you have to make me say things that will hurt you? How can I make you understand? We are too different. You are too young to know what marriage is.
I know I love you, cried Scarlett.
Scarlett, love isn't enough when people are so different. You are the kind of girl who needs all of a man, his body, mind, soul, and heart, and I couldn't give you all of me. And if we were married, Scarlett, I'd make you unhappy and bitter because of this. You'd come to hate me as much as you once loved me. You'd be hurt because the books I read and the poetry I wrote took me away from you. Melanie is like me. She loves the same things.
Do you love her? Scarlett interrupted angrily.
She is like me.
Ashley looked tired and sad.
We understand each other, Scarlett. I'm begging you to try and understand. Forgive me. I can't marry you. I never intended to marry you.
But you said you cared about me. Listening to Ashley say things which pulled her heart in two pieces, she was beginning to feel angry. And if you weren't going to marry me, you were a liar to say it.
Scarlett, please. Did I ever make you think that I wanted to marry you?
You did. You know you did.
Why don't you say it, you coward? You're afraid to marry me. You'd rather spend the rest of your life with that shy, stupid little fool who will never disagree with you, Scarlett said furiously.
You can't talk that way about Melanie,
said Ashley sharply. Oh, I can't be damned! Who are you to tell me that I can't? Damn you, Ashley! You coward! You liar! You made me believe you were going to marry me.
Scarlett, be fair,
Ashley pleaded. He held out his hands to her. Scarlett jumped back. I shall hate you until I die. You no good, awful... Oh! She suddenly hit him hard across the face. For a horrible moment, there was silence. Suddenly, Scarlett's anger was gone. Seeing the look on Ashley's face, he looked like a man who was dying. Silently, he left the room, closing the door behind him. It was over. Chapter 3. Scarlett stood there, trying to understand what had just happened. She was so full of pain and anger that she picked up a vase and threw it across the room. It smashed into many pieces. Suddenly, she heard a laugh come from a corner of the library.
This,
said the voice,
is just too much.
Scarlett turned around quickly and saw Rhett Butler sitting on a couch. What? It's you! Where did you come from?
I was trying to take a nap, my dear. I was sadly disturbed when you and your gentleman friend came in and interrupted me. Isn't young love wonderful?
Rhett said, smiling. So this horrible man had heard everything. You should have let me know you were here, Mr. Butler, Scarlett said coldly.
But, Miss O'Hara, it was you who disturbed me. I was here first, my dear. I know that those young Southern fools out there don't like me, so I came in here to take a nap.
Scarlett was getting angry again. Don't you know that spies, she began, but Rhett interrupted her.
Spies, Miss O'Hara, often hear very entertaining things. I have had much experience in spying.
Sir, said Scarlett, you are no gentleman.
And you, Miss O'Hara, are no lady. A lady would never have treated Mr. Wilkes as you did just now. But I don't like ladies. They are boring. You are a girl of rare spirit and courage. I am full of admiration. Although I cannot say I understand your precious love for Ashley Wilkes, I see nothing good in him to love.
Oh, you rat! Why, you aren't good enough to clean his boots,
cried Scarlett, red with anger.
And you said you were going to hate him for the rest of your life,
Rhett said, bursting out laughing. Scarlett wanted to kill him. Instead, she lifted her head and walked out of the library, slamming the door behind her. She ran up the stairs as fast as she could, hoping that no one had seen her. As she was about to enter the ladies' resting room, she heard several girls talking about her behavior with the boys earlier that day. Scarlett was angry and insulted. It wasn't her fault if all the other girls' boys liked her. This day was turning into a bad dream. I've got to get home to Tara, she thought desperately. I've got to get home. She wanted her mother, Ellen, to comfort her. Then, the truth of the situation hit her. Even if she went home, it would do no good. Ellen could not make this problem go away. Somehow, she would have to learn to deal with Ashley and Melanie being married. She would have to live at Tara, knowing what had happened between her and Ashley in the library. She might have to see Ashley all the time. It was too horrible to think about. Suddenly, she saw Charles Hamilton coming into the house. Without knowing why, she walked down the stairs to him. His face was red, and he was breathing hard.
It's war, Miss Scarlet. The great war against the North has begun. We're all becoming soldiers and leaving for the battles.
So there was going to be a war after all, thought Scarlet. At that moment, Charles was thinking that no one could be so beautiful. He found all his courage and asked bravely,
Miss Scarlet, I have something to tell you. I love you. Will you marry me?
Scarlet stared at him. Her heart had grown cold and still, and it seemed that after that day she would never feel anything again. In 1 second, she decided to say yes. Charles was almost engaged to Ashley's sister, Honey Wilkes, but who cared about that? Honey could find another husband. Why not marry Charles? He was just as good as any other boy. Better, even. It might even hurt Ashley if I do, thought Scarlet. Oh, she wanted Ashley to hurt the way she did. So she smiled sweetly and said yes. Chapter 4. This was the middle of April, 1861. The air was filled with excitement. Every man and boy in the South was filled with a fierce desire to fight the North, and everyone believed that one battle would end the war. Because all the boys would soon be going off to war, everyone hurried to marry his girl before joining the army.
Ashley and Melanie's wedding date had been set on the first day of May.
When Scarlet discovered this, she decided to marry Charles on April 30th, the day before. Scarlet's father, Gerald, and her mother, Ellen, were very pleased with the marriage, although they did not understand why their daughter had suddenly fallen in love with Charles Hamilton. So, within 2 weeks, Scarlet was a wife. But within 2 months, she was a widow. A week after she married Charles, he and Ashley left to join Colonel Wade Hampton and his men. For 5 weeks, Scarlet received many letters from Charles. He told her of his respect for Colonel Hampton, his love for her, and his desire to become a war hero. But one afternoon, Scarlet received a letter from Colonel Hampton himself. Charles was dead. He had died of a fever while in camp. He never even got to kill a Northerner, thought Scarlet. It was during this time that Scarlet discovered that she was pregnant. When she found out, she wanted to die. A baby, Charles' baby. And now, the baby would have no father. Scarlet had married Charles without thinking, and now she was going to be a mother for the rest of her life. Oh, why had she done it? But it was too late now. 7 months later, the child was born. He was a small but healthy baby boy. Scarlet did not feel any love for him. She was a strong, healthy girl, and within a week she was out of bed and recovered. Although Scarlet's health seemed fine, Ellen and the old black house slave, Mammy, were terribly worried about her. She would not eat, and she seemed angry and unhappy much of the time. Everyone believed that it was her sadness at Charles's death that made her act this way. But truthfully, Scarlet was only bored and frustrated at being a mother. She hadn't loved Charles, and she wasn't very sorry that he was gone. Even more important was her love for Ashley. Scarlet missed him deeply. More and more, she regretted her cruel words to him. And her deepest fear was that he would be killed in the war. In those days, widows were expected to mourn for a year or more. They had to dress in black, and they could not go to parties or dances. If they did, everyone would say they hadn't loved their husbands and think they were bad women. Scarlett was angry about being a widow. How horrible and boring life would be. Ellen was so worried about Scarlett that she decided to send her daughter to visit her relatives in other cities in Georgia. Scarlett spent the next months visiting her aunts in Savannah. This was pleasant because Savannah was a beautiful, graceful old city. But Scarlett quickly became bored and unhappy again when she returned to Tara. One day, Ellen received a letter from Atlanta. It was from Melanie's aunt, Pitty Pat Hamilton. She and Melanie were now living in Atlanta, and Pitty Pat wanted Scarlett to come for a visit and bring the child. After Ashley had left for the war, Melanie had returned to her home city of Atlanta to live with her aunt, who had cared for Melanie and Charles as children. Aunt Pitty Pat had written to Ellen, asking if Scarlett could come for a visit. She and Melanie were lonely in the big house, and Scarlett could help them care for the wounded soldiers in the hospital. Ellen thought that visiting a large, exciting city might be good for Scarlett, so she agreed. Scarlett wasn't happy about living with Melanie, but she wanted to leave North Georgia. It reminded her too much of Ashley. So she took her son, named Wade, and left Tara. Chapter 5. It was late spring in 1862 when Scarlett arrived in the great city of Atlanta. It was a cold, rainy night, and Scarlett stepped off the train, wanting to get into a warm bed as soon as possible. She stood there, holding the baby, and hoping that someone would recognize her. After a few moments, an old black man and a young slave girl approached her.
"Are you Miss Scarlett? My, you have grown. And look, there's Charlie Hamilton's little son. I'm Uncle Peter, Miss Pitty Pat's housekeeper. This girl here is Prissy. She'll help you with the baby while you're here."
Prissy was 11 years old, which was much too young to know anything about babies. If only Mammy were here, but Mammy would never leave Ellen. They walked through the rain and got into the carriage. As they drove to Aunt Pitty Pat's house, Uncle Peter told Scarlett about the new hospitals and military buildings in the city. It seemed that every day more and more wounded soldiers came to the hospitals. There were so many men that often the hospitals did not have enough doctors and medicine to treat them. Often, men died in horrible ways. They passed many people in the streets that recognized Aunt Pitty Pat's carriage. The ladies waved to Scarlett, and many promised to visit her. Finally, they arrived at the Hamiltons' beautiful home on Peachtree Street. Aunt Pitty Pat and Melanie welcomed Scarlett and Wade happily. "Oh, Scarlett, you don't know how wonderful you are, bringing dear Charlie's son to see us," said Melanie sadly as she hugged Scarlett. "Poor Charlie," cried Aunt Pitty Pat, and immediately burst into tears. Scarlett sighed. She was sick of talking about Charles. Would she have to mourn in Atlanta, too? After Aunt Pitty Pat had been given a glass of wine, Melanie said to Scarlett, "Darling, we're so happy you're here, and I hope you'll stay with us for a while. You can help us take care of all the soldiers in the hospital. I know that it helps me not to worry about Ashley," she said. and it might help you to feel better about Charlie's death. At that time in Atlanta, all women were caring for soldiers at different hospitals. Scarlett didn't like the hospitals and hated nursing the men, but at least it got her out of the house. However, Melanie loved nursing and was known as an angel to all the sick and wounded men. She was kind and gentle and listened to all the soldiers' stories about their families, wives, and hometowns. Everyone was always very kind to Scarlett because they believed she was in mourning. But Scarlett did not want their kindness. She wanted to start living again. She wanted to be the old Scarlett O'Hara, the prettiest girl in North Georgia, who went to dances and parties and flirted with boys. But the social traditions did not allow Scarlett to have fun. There was nothing to do in Atlanta but go to the hospital with Melanie or stay at home with Aunt Pittypat. In spite of these problems, Scarlett truly liked Atlanta. It was fun to live in such a big, busy city after her life in the country. So her visit to Atlanta turned from weeks into months. One afternoon in the middle of summer, Scarlett was sitting by the window. She was angrier than ever. That evening, everyone was going to a large party that would raise money for the hospital and send money to the fighting soldiers. There would be music and dancing at the party. Scarlett hadn't been to a party since the day of the Wilkes barbecue. And this evening, everyone in Atlanta was going, except her, Melanie, and Aunt Pittypat. They were, of course, in mourning for Charles. So Scarlett sat by the window, wanting to scream. Oh, it wasn't fair. It wasn't fair to be 17 years old and have a dead husband and a silly little baby screaming in the next room. Aunt Pittypat came into the living room. "Oh, Scarlett, don't wave at the people outside, dear. They'll think you're not sad enough about poor dear Charles."
Scarlett could not stand any more.
She wanted to scream, "I hate Charles!" She was so frustrated that she began to cry. Of course, Aunt Pittypat misunderstood her tears. "Oh, Scarlett, I've made you remember Charlie. Melanie, come here." Melanie ran into the room. "My poor darling, of course you're upset," she said. She hugged Scarlett, who was now too angry and upset to think straight. "Oh, I hate it," she cried. "I'm 17 years old and I'm a widow. I'll be miserable for the rest of my life and I'll never dance again," she sobbed. Just at that moment, Uncle Peter came into the room.
"Miss Pittypat, I was just talking to Mrs. Merriweather. She knows that we're in mourning, but she thinks you all should go to the party this evening. You should show your support for our soldiers and the hospital."
Immediately, Scarlett stopped crying. She didn't care about supporting the soldiers, but she wanted to go to that party more than anything. "Uncle Peter, you're absolutely right. I think we should go." Aunt Pittypat looked shocked. "Scarlett, we couldn't do that. What would people say?" Surprisingly, Melanie agreed with Scarlett. "Aunt Pittypat, Scarlett's right. We must go to that party. Scarlett and I can sell drinks to people. We've got to show that we support our boys in the war. Think of Ashley," she said firmly. Aunt Pittypat looked worried. "Well, Melanie, I suppose you're right," she said. Scarlett was happy. Finally, she would go to a party. At least she could watch the other young girls dancing, even if she could not dance herself. Chapter 6 When Aunt Pitty-Pat, Melanie, and Scarlett arrived at the party, Scarlett could hardly control herself. It was a wonderful sight. The music played, and ladies and gentlemen danced happily around the room. Because of the great Southern general's recent victories, everyone believed that the South would win the war. Just one more battle, and victory would be theirs. Scarlett wanted badly to dance and laugh with the young men, but it would not have been proper since she was a widow. Instead, she and Melanie went into a corner and sold drinks to those who wanted them. Under her dress, Scarlett could not keep her feet from moving to the music. As the evening grew later, Scarlett grew bored again. None of the boys in the room were looking at her. All the soldiers were admiring the young, unmarried girls of Atlanta. Oh, it wasn't fair. I'm much prettier and a better dancer than any other girl in this room, Scarlett thought angrily. Suddenly, Scarlett saw a man staring at her from across the room. He was tall and dark and seemed familiar somehow. She could not help giving him a smile, and the man immediately walked across the room to her. As he drew nearer, Scarlett's face turned red. It was Rhett Butler.
Why, hello, Miss O'Hara. Or, I am sorry, I should call you Mrs. Hamilton. I did not hope that you would remember me,
Rhett said in his teasing way. Scarlett wanted to disappear. All the older ladies in the room were staring at them and whispering, because Rhett Butler had a terrible name in Atlanta. Well, hello, Mr. Butler. Would you like a glass of wine this evening? She said, not looking at him. Rhett ignored her.
I was so sorry to hear of your husband's death, Mrs. Hamilton,
he said, staring at her with shining eyes.
However, to die for your country is to live forever. These words may ease the great pain you are feeling.
Damn him! He knows about Ashley, and he knows I didn't love Charlie at all, Scarlett thought. When she looked up at Rhett, she saw the laughter and mockery in his eyes. She wished she could shout at him, but then they would attract even more attention. Suddenly, the band began to play one of Scarlett's favorite songs. She tried to act as if she didn't care, but Rhett had seen the look in her eyes.
Madam, may I have this dance?
Scarlett forgot to act like a lady. Rhett Butler, you stop making fun of me and go away. I've never spoken to anyone so horrid, she said angrily. You know very well I can't dance or sing or do anything that's fun for the rest of my life. I'm 17 years old and I have to wear nasty old black clothing and stay at home, just as if I were dead. If I don't, all those old ladies over there will write to my mother and tell her how awful I am. That's how it will be forever, so kindly leave me alone and go find someone else. Rhett was laughing.
Mrs. Hamilton, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard. Why does society make women like you act like widows for the rest of their lives? And, Mrs. Hamilton, we both know very well that you are not grieving,
he said.
Now, you want to dance so badly I could see it in your face from across this room. And you're going to dance.
Before she could say anything more, Rhett had taken her by the hand and guided her onto the dance floor. It happened so quickly that Scarlett didn't have time to think. But soon she forgot about the gossiping ladies in the room. Oh, finally, after a year, she was dancing. She didn't care what they thought, and Rhett was a wonderful dancer. As they danced, Rhett looked down at her, smiling mischievously. "Mr. Butler, how dare you make everyone talk about me this way? It's not polite," said Scarlett.
Mrs. Hamilton, you don't care if it's not polite at all, do you? You're only saying that to act like a lady, the way your mother taught you,"
said Rhett. Scarlett looked into his eyes. Suddenly she laughed, and he laughed with her.
"You see, Mrs. Hamilton, when you've been talked about as much as I have, you realize that it really does not matter what people say,"
said Rhett. "Oh, Mr. Butler, stop talking and just dance with me. It's been a year since I've danced, and I don't know when I'll be able to do it again," said Scarlett.
"But it will only be a few minutes. I'm going to ask you for the next dance, and the next and the next,"
said Rhett. "Rhett Butler, you can't. I couldn't. Everyone will be angry with me, and I'll have to go home to Tara."
"Mrs. Hamilton, I am sure everyone is already angry with you, so why stop dancing now?"
asked Rhett. "Oh, all right, I admit it. I don't care at all what anyone says. I'm going to dance and dance till I fall down. But don't hold me tightly. I'll be mad if you do."
"Then I will hold you tightly. You are even prettier when you are mad, Mrs. Hamilton. You have no idea how charming you were that day at 12 Oaks when you threw that statue."
"Mr. Butler, won't you forget that?" said Scarlett, turning red in the face.
"I will not. It is one of the funniest things I have ever seen,"
said Rhett, laughing. Chapter 7. The next morning, of course, Aunt Pittypat was very upset. She was afraid of what Scarlett's parents might say if they heard of Scarlett's behavior at the party. However, it was Melanie who persuaded Aunt Pittypat not to write to Ellen. Melanie, who believed everyone was as good and kind as she was, loved Scarlett dearly and even thought Rhett Butler was wonderful. This was because Rhett was secretly helping the Southern armies by stealing supplies for them from the North. "Oh, Aunt Pittypat, Scarlett didn't mean any harm. I know she loved Charlie. Please don't tell Mrs. O'Hara about this. Then Scarlett will have to return to Tara, and we'd be lonely again," Melanie said the next morning. Aunt Pittypat was really a very sweet lady, so she agreed not to make trouble. Scarlett, of course, did not deserve Melanie's good opinion of her, and she knew it, but she did not care. It was during this time that Scarlett began to walk quietly into Melanie's room when she was not there and read the letters Ashley wrote to his wife. They were very boring letters, not like a lover's. Instead, Ashley talked of very serious, sad things. Mainly, he spoke of the war and how terrible it was to kill other people. He spoke of how awful it would be if the South lost, and he seemed to feel that the South might lose. When she read these letters, Scarlett always felt relieved. At least Ashley was not writing words of love to Melanie. She felt certain that, even though he was married, Ashley still loved her. Ashley's letters to Melanie spoke the truth about the war. The northern factories were busy making lots of war supplies for their people, like medicine and clothing. The South did not have very much medicine, clothing, and other things for their soldiers. The northern states used to provide the southern states with these important supplies, while the South would send their cotton, fruits, and vegetables to the north. But when the war began, no one was trading. Now the Southerners discovered that medicine and clothing were very expensive. In Atlanta, the doctors at the hospitals were worrying about the amount of medical supplies available. People had to make their own clothing and live without the better things in life. Meanwhile, Rhett Butler began to visit the Hamilton home. Aunt Pittypat was very afraid of what people would say about this, because she cared very much what people in good society thought of her. Rhett was not a good person to have in your home, because of all the terrible stories about him. He was the most talked about man in Atlanta. But Melanie loved Rhett, and Rhett truly seemed to like Melanie, too. When he was around her, he stopped his teasing and became gentle and pleasant. Soon, Rhett even managed to make Aunt Pittypat like him. Rhett's charming behavior puzzled Scarlet. Why didn't he act like a gentleman to her? Why did he tease her so much? Sometimes he made her so mad that she got angry and insulted him. But then he would laugh and tell her to say more. However, Scarlet guessed that his visits to the Hamilton house were really to see her. Rhett had been helping the South find supplies, but soon the quality of his goods became not as good. He also began to speak up and say things about the war that angered everyone in Atlanta. Rhett was not patriotic, and he did not believe in the South's cause.
This war is only about money,
he would say.
The Southern Army will never win this war. We are too weak. People think England is going to help us. They're wrong. That will never happen.
Soon, Aunt Pittypat's house became the only house Rhett could visit. One day, Scarlet asked Rhett, "Rhett, why don't you just be quiet and not say what you think? Then you could go anywhere in Atlanta you wanted." Rhett laughed.
Scarlet, I never thought you were a coward. What happened to the girl who always said what she thought? The sooner people in the South realize that we are in a terrible situation and are probably not going to win the war, the better off everyone will be. Admit it, Scarlet, the South is doomed. But I'll be all right, at least. I've made plenty of money, and it's all in gold.
Well, I think you're horrible, Rhett Butler. I'm sure the South is going to win the war, and I don't understand why you're not loyal, said Scarlet. Rhett laughed even harder.
Scarlet, you know what I'm saying is true, even if you won't admit it to me. You and I are very similar, you know. We don't care about anyone else as long as we are fed and have money. I am sure that you don't care about the war and who wins it, as long as you have pretty dresses and parties to go to.
Scarlet was so angry she couldn't even speak. How dared Rhett talk this way? But Rhett went right on speaking.
Unlike other women, you are a girl who sees things as they really are. You just don't want to let people see it, because they'll think you're not a lady. But, Scarlet, I didn't come here to talk about war with you. Why are you still wearing this ugly black clothing? I know you've been going to more dances and parties. I think you should wear what you want to.
Rhett, be quiet. I have to pretend I'm sad about Charles's death. You know how people talk. But I do really want to wear the latest dresses from Europe.
Well, I have brought you a present, and I want to see you wearing it every time you go to a party,
said Rhett. Scarlet cried out with happiness as he gave her a beautiful green hat. She wanted to forget all about the customs, which said that a widow couldn't wear such things. Rhett, it's beautiful. The color matches my eyes perfectly. I love it, but I can't wear this anywhere. I don't have a green dress to match." Rhett smiled.
"Then I will bring you a green dress soon. Now, don't go and hide the hat upstairs and not wear it. Otherwise, I'll come and take it back."
Rhett's gift made Scarlett forget about her anger at him. She began to wonder if he was in love with her. It was true that he didn't act like other men, who had brought her flowers and candy and agreed with everything she said. Sometimes Rhett's comments made her so mad she never wanted to see him again. "If he is in love with me, I'll have such fun making him admit it," thought Scarlett. Then he wouldn't be able to tease her anymore or act so awful. Rhett wasn't afraid of her, like the other boys had sometimes been.
"Scarlett can certainly get mad when she wants to,"
Stuart and Brent Tarleton used to say. But Rhett seemed to like making Scarlett mad and having discussions with her. Rhett knew about lots of things. He even knew a lot about ladies' clothing. You could talk to him about what people were wearing in Europe. Scarlett thought he was very strange. Even though she wasn't in love with him, Scarlett began to look forward to his visits. When Rhett was around, talking with her, Melanie, and Aunt Pittypat, Scarlett was surprised to realize that she didn't think about Ashley for a little while. Chapter 8. The months went by. Soon it was Christmas, in the year 1863. More than 2 years had passed since Scarlett first met Rhett at the Wilkes barbecue party. In this time, the South had won many victories in the war. Even though people were becoming poorer, everyone was proud that their men were fighting against the North. No one ever talked about the hard conditions of life. The Southern people wanted revenge against the North because of the damage done to their lands. Everyone in the South believed that the South could win the war. When they heard that the great General Robert E. Lee was taking his men into the state of Pennsylvania in the North, everyone in Atlanta celebrated happily. But soon, the happy news began to change. There was a terrible battle in Pennsylvania, near the town of Gettysburg. Many, many Southern soldiers were killed. Then there was silence, and no one in the South knew what was happening to their men. People began to pray. On December 5th, the news came that the Southern Army had been defeated in one part of the North. No one knew how the war would end now, and none of the Southerners were saying the Northerners were cowards anymore. The lists of those who had been killed in the fighting began to arrive. There was one for each state in the South, and Georgia's list was very, very long. One day in early December, Scarlett, Melanie, and Aunt Pittypat went to the newspaper office to see this list. The 3 women did not speak during the ride to the office, and Melanie and Scarlett were pale with fear. They both were terrified that Ashley might be on the list. There were many people at the office. As people read the lists, many screams and cries of grief came from women whose men had been killed.
Scarlett watched as many people she knew lost their husbands or friends.
Their lives would never be the same. When Melanie finally managed to get a list, she and Scarlett looked for Ashley's name in deep fear. Finally, Melanie let out a cry. "Oh, Scarlett, he's not on it. Ashley isn't on the list. He's all right." Both girls were incredibly relieved, and Melanie cried happy tears. It was only then that Scarlett could really look at all the names of the dead. As she read the list, she wanted to scream and cry. All 4 of the Tarleton boys, Stuart, Brent, and their brothers Boyd and Tom, were on the list. They were dead. "Oh, how unhappy their mother must be," thought Scarlett. Many other boys she had known were dead, boys who had liked her and been her friends when she was growing up. How could this be? It was all too much. Scarlett wanted to cry, as all the other women were doing, but she could not. She only felt numb. She knew that the happy days of her youth were gone forever. What would happen next? A few weeks later, Ashley came home for Christmas. How he had changed! He looked like a man instead of a boy. His face seemed heavy with suffering and unhappiness. Melanie was too happy to be quiet and shy. When Ashley arrived, she ran into his arms, sobbing loudly. She did not let go of her husband's arm all evening, and touched him a lot, as if she was trying to make sure he was real. Scarlett was also happy, but she couldn't act like Melanie. She couldn't kiss or hug Ashley the way she wanted to. But for once, Scarlett wasn't jealous. She was too glad to see him and know that he was all right. Sadly, Ashley could only stay for 4 short days. Then he would have to return to the fighting in Virginia. During the next 4 days, Scarlett wished for a look, a touch from Ashley. She wanted to know that he still loved her and would always love her. But Melanie was always there, her face shining with happiness. On the night that Ashley was to leave, he was standing in the hall, saying goodbye to Scarlett. He had already said goodbye to Melanie in private. For the first time, he and Scarlett were alone.
"Oh, Scarlett,"
Ashley said sadly, looking at her.
"I am happy knowing that there are still girls like you in this world. Women like you are worth fighting for."
"Oh, Ashley," Scarlett cried. She began to sob. She could not believe he was leaving. When would she see him again? She was deeply afraid and worried. "Please, please be careful. I'd die if anything happened to you."
"Scarlett, look at me,"
said Ashley gently.
"Please promise me something."
"Anything, anything," said Scarlett.
"Scarlett, I didn't want to tell Melanie or Aunt Pittypat this, but we're losing the war. We're dying, and I feel as if it's the end of the world. The South that you and I grew up in is gone forever. Please, Scarlett, no matter what happens to me, promise me that you'll take care of Melanie. I could die in the fighting, and then Melanie would be alone. She's so gentle and weak, and Scarlett, you're so strong."
Scarlett didn't know what to say. She had hoped Ashley would tell her he loved her or kiss her. She didn't feel strong. But when she looked into his eyes, she had to say, "Yes, I promise." She felt as if she would do anything for Ashley, even look after his wife. The carriage was waiting for Ashley. He was about to leave when suddenly Scarlett ran to him. "Ashley, please, please. I feel like I'm dying too. Please kiss me. Just once."
"Oh, Scarlett,"
Ashley said, and touched his lips to hers. Scarlett cried, "Ashley, I'll do anything for you, even... Say you love me. I only married Charlie to hurt you. I still love you, Ashley. Just tell me once, and I'll live on it for the rest of my life." Ashley was shaking, and his voice was hoarse, He had the unhappiest face she had ever seen.
I can't, Scarlett. Goodbye.
And then he opened the door of the house and left her alone. Chapter 9. From that time on, Christmas of 1863, the war began to get worse for the South. Soon it was clear that the South was in serious danger of losing. The Northern armies were moving deeper and deeper into the South, and soon it was clear to everyone that unless Atlanta was strongly protected, the armies would reach Atlanta and destroy it. If Atlanta was lost, the North would win the war. It was during this terrible time, the first part of 1864, that Melanie told Scarlett she was going to have Ashley's baby. When she heard this, Scarlett was angry and miserable, and more jealous of Melanie than ever before. Now, all she wanted was to return home to Tara, but it was not safe to travel. The Northern armies were inside Georgia. All Scarlett and everyone else in Atlanta could do was wait and pray that the fighting wouldn't reach Atlanta. Scarlett felt like a trapped animal in a cage, not knowing what would happen. Fortunately, a letter came from her father, Gerald. He told Scarlett that none of the Northern soldiers had reached Tara, and it was safe for that time. The hot summer of 1864 came. The Northern armies had grown stronger and stronger. Many immigrants from Europe had been hired to fight the North's war, and now they had more soldiers than the South. Soon, one of the Northern armies was near Atlanta. Scarlett and the others could hear the fighting, only 22 miles away. Thousands and thousands of wounded soldiers began to come into the Atlanta hospitals with great speed. The hospitals had very little medicine or supplies to care for them. Of course, Scarlett had to keep working at the hospital, like the other women. The smells, the germs, and the screams of the sick and dying men gave Scarlett terrible dreams. It was horrible. It was at this time that many women and children decided to leave Atlanta and go to the town of Macon, Georgia. Aunt Pittypat begged and pleaded with Melanie and Scarlett to come with her. But Melanie, who was by now very large with child, was much too weak to move. Melanie had always been thin and a little weak, and secretly Scarlett hoped that she would die during the child's birth. Then, maybe, Scarlett could be with Ashley. When Scarlett had these thoughts, she always felt terrible. She was afraid God would punish her by killing Ashley. So she tried to pray and say she was sorry. But she couldn't control her thoughts. However, no matter how much she hated Melanie, Scarlett meant to keep her promise to Ashley. As long as Ashley was out there somewhere, Scarlett would take care of his wife. Scarlett had never wanted her mother and father so much in her life. She even missed her younger sisters, Sue Ellen and Karine. She wanted to be home at Tara and see the beautiful old house and the great oak trees and hear the slaves singing in the fields. When Aunt Pittypat left for Macon, she left a little black slave named Prissy to help Scarlett with her little son, Wade, and take care of Melanie. Scarlett thought Prissy was too young to know anything about babies. But Prissy told her, "Don't you worry, Miss Scarlett. My mama made me help her with all the children. I know everything about babies." Scarlett felt relieved when she heard this. She left Wade with Prissy much of the time, and hoped that when Melanie was ready to have her baby, Prissy could deliver the child. Then, one horrible night, something terrible happened. The Southern soldiers around Atlanta were not strong enough to protect the city anymore. The Northern armies had reached the edge of Atlanta, and they were burning buildings. From the front of the house, Scarlett could see the burning buildings. She had never been so afraid in her life. She knew that she, Melanie, Wade, and Prissy had to escape somehow. But how? Earlier that day, Melanie had had her baby after a long, painful labor.
Even now, she was upstairs in the bed, crying out in pain.
Scarlett was sure she was going to die because she had lost too much blood. How could Scarlett move her? As Scarlett was walking back and forth in front of the house, she saw a small carriage with a horse drive up to the house. A man jumped down. It was Rhett Butler. Scarlett hadn't seen him in weeks, and she cried out in shock and relief. Rhett would help her. He could protect them. Somehow, Rhett could find a way. Lately, the only time Scarlett had felt safe was when Rhett was near, because he was tall and strong. He was not afraid of anything or anyone.
Scarlett, you're still here. Why? Didn't you go to Macon with Aunt Pitty-Pat?
Rhett, we've got to get out of here. Help me. I have to go home. I have to see my mother. Melanie just had her baby, and I think she's going to die. What am I going to do? Scarlett screamed. Rhett's face turned white.
Scarlett, it's too late. There's nowhere you can go now. You are probably safe in the house. I don't think the Northern soldiers will burn down people's houses. Atlanta has been taken, and the South has lost the war. I have come to say goodbye to you. I am going to do something I never thought I would do. I am going to help the Southern men fight the last part of this war, even though we're beaten. Maybe I can save some of the boys' lives.
Scarlett thought she would scream again. Rhett, are you crazy? How can you do this now, of all times? You have got to help us. I want to go home. I want to go home. She burst into tears as Rhett took her in his arms. With her head on his strong shoulders, Scarlett felt a little better.
All right, Scarlett. I'll do what I can to get you to Tara. Now, get Wade and Prissy ready. I've got to see if Melanie can be moved.
Upstairs, Melanie was lying in the bed, pale and weak. Prissy was holding the tiny baby, who was healthy and screaming loudly for his mother. When Melanie saw Rhett, she only smiled, too weak to talk.
Now, Miss Melanie, don't you worry about a thing. It's a little dangerous outside, so we're going to get you out of here,
said Rhett gently as he lifted her in his arms. Scarlett grabbed little Wade, who was extremely frightened by the noises of guns and the smell of fire. As quickly as they could, Scarlett, Rhett, and Prissy put Melanie in the back of the carriage and then climbed in themselves. Prissy held the baby and little Wade, while Rhett and Scarlett sat in front. Atlanta was a city of fire and smoke. Quickly, Rhett drove the carriage onto a large road that led out of Atlanta. Everywhere Scarlett looked, there were soldiers lying dead in the streets. It was like a horrible dream. While Rhett drove the carriage, Scarlett shut her eyes and imagined that she was home at Tara, lying in bed with Ellen, and the old black housekeeper, Mammy, taking care of her. After several hours of traveling on the road, Scarlett was almost able to ignore the sounds of Wade's terrified crying and the new baby's screams. Prissy, who was still a child herself, was also frightened. Melanie was in terrible pain and seemed barely alive. Suddenly, Rhett stopped the carriage. He had spoken little on the road because he was concentrating on driving. But Scarlett had felt safe and calmer just having him near. "What's the matter, Rhett? Why are we stopping?"
Scarlett, now you're about 12 hours away from Tara. Just take this small road to our left here, and you'll be there. But if you see any soldiers, do what I say. Get off the road and hide. The men are crazy right now. They might try to steal the carriage because they think there is food inside. I'm leaving, Scarlett. Like I told you, I'm going to go and fight the last battle of the South.
Scarlett stared at Rhett. "Rhett, stop teasing. This isn't the time for it. You're not serious. Now hurry up and let's get home to Tara."
I am serious, Scarlett. I am leaving you here. You'll be all right. You're a lot stronger than you think, Scarlett. And now is the time to be strong.
Scarlett screamed and began to hit him with her fists. "You can't leave us. You don't even care about the war. And now you're leaving helpless women and children to fight a losing battle? I'll hate you for the rest of my life for this. How am I supposed to get these helpless people home in the middle of a war with fire and wild men everywhere?"
Scarlett, I can't explain this. It's just something I have to do. This is a time when people have to take care of themselves. Now, you have to take care of yourself and these other people. But first...
Here Rhett smiled at her.
"Kiss me, Scarlett. I may not see you again. I might die a brave soldier's death tonight."
"What? Are you crazy, Rhett Butler?
You want me to kiss you right here in the middle of the road?
I'll never kiss you, you bastard!" Scarlett shouted. But before she could move away, Rhett had grabbed her and was kissing her. And what a kiss! Charles had never kissed her like this. It was the kiss of a man. Even though she struggled, a part of Scarlett did not want him to stop.
"Scarlett, I've waited longer for you than I have for any woman,"
Rhett said, as his hands moved up and down her body. Then he turned and walked down the road. Scarlett stared after him. For once in her life, she did not know what to do or say. She could not believe what had just happened. Now, Rhett was leaving her to help the Southern soldiers fight when he had never agreed with the war. Scarlett did not understand people, and so she could not see that Rhett was deeply surprised at his own actions. Well, he could go to hell for all she cared. Scarlett got into the carriage and began to drive it. The horse was frightened and would not move at first, but she hit it many times with the whip, and it began to run. The hours passed, full of fear, smoke, and fire. The baby screamed, Wade cried, and Prissy prayed. It was the most difficult night of Scarlett's young life. Chapter 10. It was the next day. The sun burned slowly in a gray sky. The carriage had almost reached Tara, but the horse was nearly dead from exhaustion. The sun was terribly hot, and all around the land was as quiet as death. The Northern soldiers had been through this area and had burned plantation homes to the ground. When Scarlett saw the burned homes of families she knew, she was filled with hatred and anger. It was as if all of Georgia had died, thought Scarlett. Where were all the people? Now, Scarlett's deepest fear was that Tara would be burned to the ground. This fear made her whip the horse to make it go faster, but the poor animal was barely walking.
"Scarlet, could I have some water, please?" asked Melanie weakly from the back of the carriage.
"Yes, Miss Scarlet, I'm thirsty too," Prissy cried. Wade kept crying out,
"I'm hungry! I'm hungry!"
Scarlet wanted to leave them all behind. They were looking to her to take control of the situation and help them. They did not know that Scarlet was just as hungry, thirsty, tired, and frightened as they were.
"We don't have any water. Quiet, Wade. Mother will take you home soon," Scarlet said loudly.
Suddenly, the carriage turned a corner in the road, and there was Tara. It was not burned down. The great house stood there. Scarlet had not been home in more than 2 years. Forgetting about Wade, Prissy, Melanie, and the baby, Scarlet jumped out of the carriage and ran as fast as she could up the road. She was almost crying with joy. Finally, she would see Ellen, hear her comforting voice. Ellen would take care of everything, and Scarlet could lay the terrible responsibility in her lap. She ran up the steps to the house, crying, "Mother! Mother!"
Before she could open the door, it had opened, and she was looking at her father's face.
"Oh, Pa, I've come home. I'm so glad to see you. The journey here was so horrible. Where's Mother?" Scarlet cried, hugging her father. Mammy, the housekeeper, and Pork, the butler, came running out of the house to greet Scarlet. They were loyal and capable black slaves who had been with Scarlet's family all her life. "Miss Scarlet, the Lord has answered my prayers. My child is home," Mammy cried. Scarlet ran into her arms, sobbing with relief. "Mammy, where's Mother? Oh, I can't wait to see her. And Sue Ellen and Karine, how are they? Where are they?" Scarlet cried. It was only then that she saw the look on her father's face. Gerald looked like he had aged 20 years, even though he was only 63. When Scarlet had left Tara, Gerald had been a loud, strong, cheerful man. Now he looked like a ghost.
"Katie, Scarlet, Sue Ellen and Corinne are very ill with the scarlet fever. They caught it from your mother, and your mother is dead."
Ellen was dead. Scarlet screamed. It was too much. The terrible fear of the long night, the fires of Atlanta, the long journey to Tara, the fear that soldiers would attack them, and now Ellen was dead. Scarlet did not hear her own screaming as she fell to the ground in a faint. When Scarlet woke up, she was lying in her own bed. Mammy was sitting beside her, wiping her face with cool water. "Where are Melanie and the baby and Wade?" Scarlet whispered. "They are in the other room, Miss Scarlet. They're all right. Miss Melanie sure is weak, but I think she'll be all right. She doesn't have any milk for that baby, though. It's lucky that Dilsey just had another baby and has lots of extra milk." Dilsey was another slave on the plantation. "Mammy, how did my mother die?" Scarlet cried weakly. "Oh, Miss Scarlet, it's terrible. Your mother caught a terrible fever from taking care of that nasty, poor Emmy Slattery down the road. You know how kind and giving your mother is, always nursing the sick. Well, she caught the sickness from Emmy, and she had been working so hard here that her body had no more strength. She died only last night, Miss Scarlet. Her last words were about you. She said, 'Tell Scarlet I love her. Tara is hers now.' Your sisters got the sickness also. They are still very sick,
but I don't think they'll die. They don't know your mother is dead, Miss Scarlet. Oh, Miss Scarlet, what are we going to do now? All our people have run away. Your father, he's not the same. The news of your mother's death has killed his mind, I think. He's like an old man now." Scarlet could not handle all this information. Ellen was dead, Gerald was sick in his mind, and her sisters had scarlet fever. All the slaves had run away, and only Mammy, Pork, and Dilsey had stayed. Everyone was looking to her, Scarlet, to lead them and help them. It was too much to understand at once. "I'll think about it all in a minute. I'll think about it tomorrow. Now, I just want to sleep," Scarlet kept telling herself. But she could not rest. Quickly she got up and without a word to Mammy, went downstairs to the dining room. Here, Gerald had kept some bottles of liquor. Without thinking, Scarlet opened one of the bottles and took a long drink. She wanted something to make her forget the terrible fear. The liquor burned inside her and made her cough, but soon she felt warm inside. Suddenly she realized how hungry she was. "Pork, what do we have to eat?" asked Scarlet.
"Miss Scarlet, we don't have much food at all. The Northern soldiers came and took all our food supplies."
"All we have are a few old vegetables and a lot of corn in the field,"
cried Pork. Scarlet took a deep breath. "Pork, go into the kitchen and cook some of the corn and vegetables. Take some food to Miss Melanie and Wade and the baby. I'm going outside to see if there are any vegetables left in our garden." Scarlet walked outside and went into the garden. For a long, long time she stood there, staring at the quiet, burned land around her. Ashley had been right when he had said,
"The South that you and I grew up in is gone forever."
Oh, where was Ashley now? Scarlet fell to the ground, too weak to stand up any longer. As she lay there, she smelled the rich earth of the garden. When she stood up again, her face was changed. It was no longer a girl's face. It was the face of a woman who knew what pain, fear, hatred, and suffering were. "God, I promise you something. I'm going to survive. The Yankees," here Scarlet used the Southern name for Northern people, "aren't going to kill me. I'm going to keep us all alive. I don't know how, but I'll do it. And I'll hate the Yankees for the rest of my life. That will be my revenge on the Northerners. My people and I will survive." Chapter 11. The next 8 months, from summer of 1864 to the spring of 1865, were unlike anything Scarlet had ever known. They were full of hard, terrible work. Scarlet, Sue Ellen, and Karine had to plant cotton seeds. They had to work in the fields like slaves. They had to plant vegetables and cook and clean with Mammy and Dilsey. When Pork told her that the O'Hara's pigs had escaped just a few days before she had arrived at Tara, Scarlet made him hunt for the pigs in the woods. He was only able to find a few of the pigs, so that winter the family lived on very little meat. There were vegetables from the garden and corn in the field. The girls grew very thin, and their skin and hands became red and rough from working outside. Melanie had never really recovered from her little son Beau's birth. She was still pale and weak. In fact, before the baby's birth, the Hamilton family's doctor had told Melanie that she would only be able to have one child. However, although she couldn't work outside, Melanie was able to help Scarlet with duties inside the house. Sometimes Southern soldiers passed by the house. They were trying to return to their families in other parts of the South, because now the war was really over. The South was a conquered land, and the Northerners controlled it now. They were going to unify the South and North into the United States of America.
Usually, the soldiers who came to Tara were almost dead from hunger and tiredness. Scarlett was always angry when these men asked for food and water because the family did not have enough to feed themselves. But Melanie always fed and comforted them the best she could. One day, when Scarlett grew angry at her for feeding yet another group of soldiers, she said sadly, "Oh, Scarlett, please don't be angry at me. I know we don't have enough to feed ourselves, but I feed these men so that they can return to their wives and families, like I pray that Ashley will. Somewhere, maybe, Ashley is cold and hungry and trying to come home to me. I hope that some woman is feeding him." When she heard these words, Scarlett could say nothing. In the past months, the two women had not spoken of Ashley. Each was deeply afraid that he was dead, because there had been no news or letters from him. One day, a soldier named Will Benteen came to Tara to ask for a little food. Although Scarlett did not normally talk to the soldiers who came to Tara, she liked Will's quiet, calm manner. He did not seem as upset about losing the war as the other soldiers Scarlett met. He seemed to accept that life was hard. Scarlett discovered that this was because Will was from the mountains and came from a very poor family.
I didn't have money back then, and I don't have money now. Nothing has changed. It's you rich people that are suffering the most,
said Will calmly. In the Old South, Will's family was the lowest class of people, poor farmers. But after the war, the South was not the same. Everyone was poor, even the best families. Scarlett decided to make Will an offer. "Will, you can see that Tara is doing terribly. I've made everyone here work hard, trying to plant a little cotton to sell sometime. But I'm working day and night just to try to feed us all, and we can't plant enough cotton. If we want to survive, we have got to sell cotton. I need money, Will, lots of money. If you stay here and help us plant and grow cotton and other crops, you can live at Tara." She waited anxiously while Will thought about her offer. Finally, he said,
"Miss Scarlett, I would be happy to help you make Tara successful again. The land here is good, and I think I can help you to grow plenty of cotton. It will be very hard, and it will take a long time, but I think we can do it."
"Then you'll stay here? Thank you!" cried Scarlett. Will looked at her, a little surprised at her happiness. He did not understand the great relief she felt. During this time of trouble for the South, Scarlett had changed. Her temper was terrible, and she was often shouting at Pork, Mammy, Melanie, and her sisters. Sue Ellen and Karine complained about Scarlett to Melanie, and even Mammy thought Scarlett was being difficult. They did not understand that it was the family's terrible situation that made Scarlett so unpleasant to be with. Even though she didn't talk about her feelings, the truth was that Scarlett lived in a world of pain and fear. She was terrified of the family going hungry, and they never had enough to eat. And there was no money, because all Southern money was now almost useless. You couldn't buy anything with it anymore. So Scarlett was deeply relieved when Will came. Here was another pair of hands to work the land. Poor Gerald was too weak and sick now to do anything. He sat on the porch and stared at nothing. Sometimes he would say to one of his daughters,
Where's Ellen? Go and tell Ellen that supper is ready.
Ellen's death had been a terrible shock to Gerald, and he could not accept that his wife was gone. Gerald could not help Scarlett now. Having a strong man at Tara helped greatly. Will was a very good farmer, and he was able to plant more cotton and grow vegetables. He was also a good hunter, so the family had a little more meat on their table. Will was a very quiet person who knew how to work hard. He was kind to Sue Ellen and Karine, and listened to their stories about old friends in the happy days before the war. How long ago they seemed. Soon, Scarlett's sisters were very good friends with Will. One day, Scarlett and Melanie were sitting on the front porch of the house. Will was out hunting with pork. Scarlett was thinking to herself how long it had been since she had had a new dress or fixed her hair. She had not thought of any of these things in almost a year. The old Scarlett O'Hara was gone, and in her place a thin, angry woman stood. The only thing this woman thought about was staying alive. Melanie looked up and saw a man coming down the road. "Scarlett, there's another soldier coming. I'll see what we have to eat in the kitchen." Suddenly, she stopped speaking and stood up. Scarlett was thinking how much she wished all the soldiers would just die where they were and leave Tara alone. She stared down the road at the man who was coming. He was tall and walked slowly. He had blonde hair. Wait! This wasn't just any soldier. It's Ashley! Chapter 12. Scarlett and Melanie could not believe it, but Ashley had somehow made it home. He had walked many miles to find Tara. Sadly, he came back to find his old home, 12 Oaks, burned to the ground by the Northern soldiers. The Old South that he had known a few years ago was gone forever. Ashley had changed a lot in the past few years. He had always been quiet and serious, but now he seemed not to have any hope. He was extremely happy to see Melanie and his new son, Beau. Scarlett thought that his eyes looked strange and sad, but she didn't understand why. The truth was that in this new South, people had to work hard to survive. The kind of family a person was from did not matter anymore. It was only important how hard you could work, growing food and helping your family survive. Ashley believed that he did not belong there any longer. All the things he had loved in the Old South, like poetry, music, and books, were not important in the New South. He believed in his heart that he was a useless person. However, Scarlett was just happy to have Ashley near her again. She believed he still loved her, even though he was so sad all the time. Scarlett felt she would do anything to help Ashley become happy again, even if it meant helping Melanie also. To practical Scarlett, all Ashley needed was lots of money and a nice house to be happy. Many nights she thought about how she could help him. The family was growing. Now Scarlett, Wade, Will, Sue Ellen, Karine, Melanie, Ashley, and little Beau lived at Tara, as well as the servants, Mammy, Pork, Dilsey, and Prissy. The large amount of people meant that more food had to be found. Therefore, they needed money. Money was still Scarlett's greatest worry in life, and she was always thinking about it. Often she had nightmares about being cold, alone, and hungry in the darkness. She was beginning to think that, as long as you had money, you had no worries in life. Money was the most important thing in the world. Finally, After many long hours of thinking, Scarlett came up with a plan. With Will and Ashley working at Tara, Scarlett could rest a little. She decided to return to Atlanta for some time. There had to be some way she could make money for the family. Lots and lots of money. Scarlett had many ideas, but she did not discuss them with Will or Ashley. If they knew what she was really thinking, they would never let her go. Scarlett needed a new dress to wear for her trip. But of course there was no money for the cloth. So she decided to use the lovely green curtains in the living room to make a new dress. Of course, Mammy disagreed with this idea. "Miss Scarlett, don't go and ruin Miss Ellen's nice curtains." "Mammy, be quiet. I need a new dress, and I'm going to have a dress. What do the curtains matter now?" said Scarlett, pulling the curtains down. Chapter 13. When Scarlett arrived in Atlanta, the first thing she did was to go to the Hamiltons' home to see if it was all right. During the attack on Atlanta, Aunt Pittypat and Uncle Peter had gone to Macon for a short time. But they had quickly returned to Atlanta when it was safe to do so. They welcomed Scarlett with many hugs and tears. Scarlett had some very strange ideas about how to make money. She had remembered that her dead husband, Charles Hamilton, had left her a little money in his will. He had made this will just before he left for the war, and he had given Scarlett everything he had. Scarlett had decided that if she had enough money, she would use it to buy a factory of some kind. She would find workers for her factory and pay them as little money as possible. Any money that the factory made would be sent to Will at Tara. Will would use the money to feed the family and buy pigs, chickens, crops, and cotton to plant. When the factory had lots of customers, Scarlett would offer Ashley a job working for her. Then he and Melanie could move to Atlanta, and Will, Sue Ellen, and Karine could stay at Tara. Scarlett thought this plan was perfect. She knew that no one in Atlanta would understand or agree with her plan, but she did not care. In those days, women did not own businesses, and they certainly did not own factories. However, all Scarlett cared about were two things, Tara and Ashley. Even if the Northerners had taken everything else, Tara was hers. It was in her blood. Keeping the fields of Tara alive and well meant more to Scarlett than anything else, except Ashley. If Scarlett had a factory, she could send money to Will at Tara, and he could buy more cotton to plant. Ashley would have money and something to do in Atlanta, and he would be near her. The thought of Ashley still made shivers run up and down Scarlett's back. She did not think for a moment that Ashley might want to do something else with his life. Scarlett decided that a lumber factory was the best kind to buy because the people of Atlanta needed lumber to repair their damaged houses. She had found a small, dirty-looking lumber factory for sale a few miles away from the Hamilton house. She spoke with the bank that had kept her money from Charles's will. Luckily, Charles had been smart enough to leave her the money in gold pieces. Gold was always valuable, but paper money was not. Unfortunately, Scarlett discovered that she did not have as much gold as she would need to buy this lumber factory. She would have to find a way to get more money from someone. But how? A week after Scarlett arrived in Atlanta, Aunt Pittypat heard some exciting gossip. "Scarlett, you'll never guess who's here again," she said at dinner that evening. Who, Aunt Pitty-Pat? Asked Scarlet. Rhett Butler. I wonder what that awful man has been doing. I heard that after the war he went to Europe for a while. He is the only person I know who did not suffer in the war. Oh, that terrible man! I do hope he will not visit us here. Oh dear, what would people say? All my friends would be so angry with me. And Aunt Pitty-Pat left the dinner table worrying. When Scarlet heard Rhett's name, all her anger at him returned. She had not forgotten the night of her escape from Atlanta, and how Rhett had abandoned her in the road. Her green eyes flashed with fire. That dirty, rotten, horrible rat! I hope he doesn't dare to even speak to me. I shall hate him forever for what he did, she thought. She almost hoped she would see Rhett, so that she could have the pleasure of being angry and unkind to him. Suddenly, Scarlet had a thought that almost made her choke on her food. Rhett had money. He was the richest person she knew. If Scarlet could persuade Rhett to lend her the money to buy the factory, everything would be all right. But how could she do that? Scarlet decided that if Rhett wasn't in love with her, she would have to make him fall in love with her. Then he'll probably do anything I want, she thought. Scarlet was certain her plan would work, because she had always been able to have any boy she wanted. Rhett won't be any different, because men are all alike, she said to herself. She smiled happily. This was going to be fun. Now, all Scarlet had to do was to find Rhett without letting Aunt Pitty-Pat know what she was doing. She asked Aunt Pitty-Pat's friends a few questions and found out that Rhett was living in a hotel nearby. She was a little surprised that he had not been to visit her, but probably he didn't know she was in town. The next morning, Scarlet dressed in the green dress that she had made from the curtains at Tara. The green material was beautiful and matched her eyes perfectly. As she looked in the mirror, Scarlet was glad that she was prettier than ever, and her figure was still slim. She was even a little thinner than before. The important thing was not to let Rhett see her hands. They were very rough and red from all the hard work at Tara, and the fingernails were broken. They were no longer the soft, white hands of a lady. Rhett could never know how hard she had been working. It just wouldn't be right. Scarlet arrived at the hotel where Rhett lived and was shown to his room. Her heart was pounding as she knocked on the door. She was strangely excited to see Rhett, even though she was still angry with him. At least, he was never boring.
Scarlet,
cried Rhett as he opened the door.
What a surprise to see you.
Immediately, Scarlet began her plan. Oh, Rhett! Thank God you're all right, she cried. She threw her arms around him and pretended that she was about to cry. Where have you been? I was so afraid you would be hurt in the fighting, or even worse. Why haven't you been to see me? She said.
Scarlet, I never thought you would be so worried about me,
said Rhett. He looked very happy to see her, thought Scarlet. There was something about the look in his eyes that made Scarlet think, he's in love with me already. They sat down at the table. Well, Rhett, tell me everything. Where have you been? Said Scarlet, smiling sweetly and looking as if she was extremely interested.
Rhett told her all about his adventures.
After the war, he had gone to New Orleans for a time, and then to Europe. Although she was thinking about how to ask Rhett for money, Scarlet could not help but be interested in his stories. Rhett was more interesting to talk to than almost anyone she knew. He could even make her laugh.
Finally, Rhett stopped talking and, looking at her closely, asked,
"Now, Scarlett, how are you? And what have you been doing? How is everyone at Tara?"
"Oh, everything is just wonderful at Tara, Rhett. Everyone is happy and healthy, and we don't have any problems," Scarlett said slowly, hoping Rhett would believe her. "Oh, Rhett, that's why I came to see you. I just couldn't stand it, knowing that while I was at Tara, so happy and without a care in the world, you might be alone, sick, or hurt. I had to see if you were all right." Rhett looked amazed.
"Why, Scarlett, can it be that you care about me? It seems that you have grown a heart, a real woman's heart."
Scarlett stared up into his eyes. "I have, Rhett. I know I have." Before Scarlett had time to think, Rhett took one of her hands and put it to his face. What was he going to say? Suddenly he looked at the hand, and then at her.
"Your hands, they're rough and red. These aren't the hands of a lady. You've been working like a slave. You lied to me. Why?"
"Oh, no, Rhett. I went for a ride on my horse last week and fell off."
"Scarlett, stop inventing stories,"
Rhett said in a hard voice.
"I only half believed you when you said everything is just wonderful at Tara anyway. Do you think I am a fool? Now, why are you really here? I know you better than you think. You must want something from me. What is it? Money?"
Scarlett gave up her act. "All right, Rhett, I admit it. I need money to buy a factory. I want to run a factory and send the money to Tara to keep it running so that all the people there can eat. I know everyone in Atlanta will think it's awful, but I don't give a damn. You don't know how horrible it's been, Rhett. The past year has been like a horrible dream. All the work and fear, the terrible fear of always going hungry. So finally, I decided to come here and do whatever I had to do to get some money from you. You're the only man I know who can help me, and please, Rhett, you've just got to give me the money." Rhett looked amazed. In his own mind, he admired Scarlett's determination deeply. She was willing to do whatever it took to keep Tara and her family alive and well.
"Who is living at Tara now, Scarlett?"
"Too many people, Rhett. Will Benteen, who's been like a brother to me. He's helping me build Tara up again after all the Northerners destroyed it. Then there's Melanie and the baby, Bo, and Prissy and Wade, and Mammy and Pork and Dilsey, and Sue Ellen and Karine, and Ashley." At the mention of Ashley, Scarlett saw a strange, angry look in Rhett's eyes.
"So, the Honorable, Elegant Ashley Wilkes has come back from the war alive, eh? What is he doing at Tara? Probably sitting around trying to chop wood like a slave and dreaming of you. I wonder what Mrs. Wilkes thinks. She's so good and wonderful that she can't imagine what the two of you are really thinking. Both of you make me sick. I am sure that your little plan to make money is intended to help him more than anyone else. Isn't it, Scarlett? Answer me."
Scarlett was furious. How did Rhett know her so well? Still, her plan was not just to help Ashley. "Rhett Butler, you no-good, dirty rat! How dare you say things like that to me?" she shouted. "You haven't got the smallest idea how terrible it's been at Tara. And there are so many people to feed. Who cares if Ashley's one of them? Yes, if it makes you feel better, I do want to help Ashley. You couldn't possibly understand. You've never loved anyone. Oh, I could hit you!" Rhett burst out laughing.
"Save your hits, Scarlett. All right. I am sorry I made you so angry. I can see that saving Tara is truly important to you, and I truly admire your determination to own a factory in spite of what people will say. You are good at telling others what to do, I am sure.
Thank you, Scarlett said coldly.
However, none of my money is available at this time. It's all in gold, and it's in Europe. I couldn't give you any money, even if I wanted to, which I don't.
Rhett said cheerfully.
So, Scarlett, you'll just have to think of some other way to make money. I would gladly give money to help Tara, but I am sad to say that I will not give money to help Ashley Wilkes in any way. But I know you. You're smart. If any girl can find that money, you can.
Rhett Butler, you let me talk on and on like that. You were never going to give me any money. I hope you die like the dog you are. Oh, I shall hate you until I die for this. Goodbye, shouted Scarlett. And then Scarlett did try to hit Rhett, but he moved aside just in time, laughing.
Oh, Scarlett, don't hate me for that long, please. That would be terrible. Goodbye, my lady. Soon we shall meet again.
Scarlett walked out of the hotel room, slamming the door behind her. Chapter 14. After Scarlett left Rhett's hotel room, she walked slowly along the street, thinking, how was she going to get the money to buy that factory now? Rhett had ruined all her plans. How she hated him! I should have known he'd never understand, Scarlett thought. Her angry thoughts were interrupted by a man calling her name.
Miss Scarlett, hello.
Why, it's Frank Kennedy. How are you? Said Scarlett. Frank Kennedy was an older man in his late 40s, whom Scarlett had known for a few years now. He had visited Tara many times to see Sue Ellen, Scarlett's younger sister. Scarlett did not like her sister very much, and couldn't understand why Frank was interested in her. Not that Frank was very handsome, rich, or intelligent himself. Frank had thin, red hair and a silly expression on his face all the time. But now, after her meeting with Rhett, it was nice to talk to a man who knew how to treat a lady. Frank offered Scarlett a ride back to Aunt Pitty-Pat's home in his carriage. He was very anxious to know how Sue Ellen was doing.
Miss Scarlett, I'm going to ask her to marry me very soon now. You see, I've been able to save some money. I have a store here, and I've been able to make about $1,000 already.
$1,000. To Scarlett, this was like all the money in the world. She looked at Frank with new interest in her eyes. Why, Frank, that's amazing. Tell me, how did you do it? Everyone is so poor these days after the war. Frank turned red. He was very shy around women, and so he was very excited to have pretty Scarlett O'Hara, Sue Ellen's sister, talking to him. He had always preferred Sue Ellen to Scarlett because Sue Ellen was sweet and ladylike. But Scarlett was very charming, and she looked so nice in her green dress, with her red lips smiling and her large green eyes shining like jewels.
Well, Miss Scarlett, after the war was over, I came immediately back to Atlanta. I had a little money, and I bought a little building and made it into a store. For the first few months, I had almost no business, but now there are many Northerners living in Atlanta, you know. They're rebuilding the South, and they just control everything now. I don't like it at all, but they do buy my products. So I've been able to save lots of money.
Scarlett was thinking quickly. She had another idea on how to get the money for that factory. If Frank was becoming rich, then she, not Sue Ellen, should be the one to marry Frank. Frank could give her any money she needed to help Tara. She would still buy a factory and run it herself, but she would wait a little while, until she had been married to Frank for a few months. Scarlett knew she could control Frank because he was so silly, like an old woman more than a man. Of course, Sue Ellen would hate her for stealing her man, but, well, Sue Ellen would just have to understand. "I'll be doing her a favor," thought Scarlett. "Frank's so old and silly that I don't know why Sue Ellen wants to marry him anyway. She can find a younger man for a husband any time." Scarlett turned to Frank with her sweetest smile. "Oh, Frank, it is so good to see you. I've missed seeing you at Tara."
"Oh, Miss Scarlett, how is Sue Ellen? Does she ask about me?"
Scarlett's face grew very sad. "Oh, dear, I think I'm going to cry. What an awful, terrible, mean sister I have."
"What is it, Miss Scarlett?"
cried Frank. He turned pale. "Well, it's just that Sue Ellen got tired of waiting for you, and she was afraid she'd never get married, and... Well, Frank, she's going to marry one of the country boys next month. Oh, dear, I could just cry." Frank looked miserable and said nothing. "But, Frank, don't worry about her. Sue Ellen's just selfish and terrible, I think. If I was going to marry you, I'd never want anyone else. Now, here we are at my Aunt Pittypat's house. Please come in and stay for supper. I would so love to talk to you," Scarlett said sweetly. She put her hand on his arm. Frank was terribly unhappy about Sue Ellen's marriage. Of course, he did not know that Scarlett was lying. He was excited by Scarlett's sweet words and the way she looked at him, as if he were a big, strong man who could protect her. That night, Frank went to supper at Aunt Pittypat's house. 3 days later, Scarlett returned to Tara as Mrs. Kennedy. In 3 days' time, she had married Frank. She had told him, with many tears and sighs, that she needed money to feed her family and buy cotton seeds to plant at Tara. Frank had given Scarlett $300. Sue Ellen was furious when she found out what Scarlett had done, of course. She cried and screamed and slammed all the doors in the house. "I hate her! I hate her! Oh, she took my Mr. Kennedy! I was going to marry him, and she went and stole him!" "Sue Ellen, try to understand. Scarlett did it to help Tara," said Melanie, trying to comfort Sue Ellen. Ashley had said nothing, only stared at Scarlett with a look of shock, and then left the room. Scarlett wondered what he thought of her marriage. "No, she didn't! She did it because she's mean and hateful!" cried Sue Ellen. After that, Sue Ellen wouldn't speak to Scarlett any more, but Scarlett didn't care. All she cared about was that she had the money for Tara that it needed. Scarlett planned to return to Atlanta in a few days, but first she wanted to speak to Ashley. She wanted him and Melanie to move to Atlanta, not only because Scarlett wanted him to be near her, but because she wanted to help Ashley find something to do with his life. That afternoon, she found him sitting in the living room, staring out the window. "Ashley, I wanted to talk to you about something before I go back to Atlanta," Scarlett said cheerfully. Ashley turned to look at her.
"Scarlett, I can't forgive myself for allowing you to go off to Atlanta and marry Mr. Kennedy. I should have known what you were planning to do and tried to stop you. I should be breaking my back in the fields of Tara helping you to raise money.
After everything you've done for Melanie and the baby, I should have helped you more. I know you don't love Frank. You only married him to help us at Tara. You're so unselfish, Scarlett, but it's as if you've sold yourself in marriage.
Oh, Ashley, said Scarlett. They stared at one another. Neither one could really say what they were thinking. Ashley, there was something I wanted to talk to you about. I wanted you and Melanie to move to Atlanta. I can help you find a job, and you and Melanie can live with Frank and me at Aunt Pitty-Pat's house until you have enough money to buy your own place. Wouldn't it be nice? Ashley shook his head sadly.
Scarlett, I've made a decision. I meant to tell you before. I'm taking Melanie and the baby and moving to New York City. I can find a job working in a bank there. I must leave the South, Scarlett. There is nothing here for me anymore. I cannot live off your charity anymore. I feel terrible.
Scarlett was shocked and afraid. Ashley couldn't leave the South. She would never see him again. Oh, but Ashley, you don't need to move to New York. I can give you a wonderful job in Atlanta. I'm going to buy a lumber factory and run it myself. You know how good with numbers I am. I'm sure that I can do it. I'll let you have a lot of responsibility.
No, Scarlett,
Ashley said quietly.
I'm sure that you'll be a great success. You're strong and brave, and I'm not. But it would feel like charity to me. I'm grateful to you for everything you've done for me and my family. But it's time for me to leave. For the first time in my life, I want to be independent, you see.
And he turned to leave the room. Scarlett didn't know what to say. She did not really understand Ashley's feelings. Why did he need to be independent? All he needed to be happy was money, a nice house, and a job. Oh, yes, and those books and poetry. Couldn't he have all those things in Atlanta? Why did he want to leave her? Oh, Ashley! Cried Scarlett and burst into tears. When Ashley heard her crying, he turned around and went to comfort her. But she turned away from him and threw herself onto the couch. Melanie heard the sound of crying and came into the room. Darling, what's the matter? She said gently, running to the couch and taking Scarlett in her arms. It's Ashley! Oh, he's so mean and hateful! Cried Scarlett, tears running down her face. What have you done? Melanie asked her husband anxiously. I asked him to come to Atlanta and work for me, and he won't. He says you all are moving to New York. How could he do this when I need him in Atlanta? Cried Scarlett. She was too upset to think calmly. Melanie stood up and looked at Ashley. Her normally gentle face looked almost angry. Ashley, think, she said. Just think what Scarlett's done for us. For me. How can you refuse to help her when she needs you? I would have died the night Atlanta was attacked if Scarlett hadn't saved me and the baby. And when I think of how hard she's worked since the end of the war, picking cotton and working outside just so that we could have food to eat, oh, my darling. And Melanie put her arms around Scarlett. Ashley's face was white. He looked like a man who has lost a great battle.
Scarlett, do you really want me to come to Atlanta?
He said slowly. Yes, Ashley, I really do, cried Scarlett.
And Melanie, do you really think we should move there?
He asked his wife. Oh, darling, just think how wonderful it would be to be with our family. New York is so terribly far away, said Melanie.
Then I will come to Atlanta. I cannot fight you both,"
said Ashley. In his mind, Ashley felt as if his one chance for independence and happiness had been destroyed. As he turned to leave the room, Scarlett saw the look on his face. He was a man in terrible pain. Suddenly, she didn't feel so happy about her victory. "Oh, Ashley, I can't bear for you to be unhappy," she wanted to cry out. But he was already gone. Chapter 15. A few days later, Scarlett took Mammy and Wade and returned to Atlanta to be with Frank. He, Scarlett, Mammy, and Wade moved into Aunt Pitty-Pat's house, since she had a lot of room. A month later, Melanie and Ashley moved into a small house in Atlanta. They had almost no money, but they were able to buy a small and rather ugly house. In a month's time, Scarlett had convinced Frank to give her the rest of the money she needed to buy the little lumber factory. When she came back to Atlanta, she had been worried that it would be sold, but it was still there. Of course, Frank was shocked and upset that his wife wanted to do something like buy a factory. Frank was very traditional, and in those days, women did not do such things. It was not at all ladylike. But Scarlett cried and pleaded, and was so sweet and charming to him that he finally said,
"Well, honey, if you want to try your little idea, I suppose it won't hurt anything. But don't worry your pretty head over the factory too much. Let Ashley do that."
Frank did not really know his wife. He did not know that Scarlett was extremely good at mathematics and was very stubborn and determined. These qualities meant that she would be good at business. He also did not know about her temper. Scarlett bought the factory and immediately began to find men to work in it. The men she found were criminals who were released from prison on the condition that they work somewhere. They were terribly poor, angry young men who were often very dangerous. Scarlett hired a man named Archie to watch the men and make sure they did their work. Archie was a man from the mountains of the southern state of North Carolina. He had once been a criminal himself and had been sent to prison for killing his wife. In the war, he had lost a leg and an eye. He was the meanest person Scarlett had ever known. She had not wanted to hire a man like this, but Archie had told her he could make the men work hard, and she wouldn't have to worry about them. The factory did very well, because there were many people in Atlanta who needed wood. Scarlett was able to send plenty of money to Will at Tara. Ashley was given a job managing the factory's office. He was not nearly as good at this kind of work as Scarlett was, but Scarlett was very forgiving of his mistakes. Soon, however, Scarlett discovered something very upsetting. She was pregnant again. Scarlett had not wanted to have any more children, as she was not close to her son, Wade Hamilton. Wade had spent most of his time with Mammy or Prissy and barely knew his mother. Frank was extremely happy at the news and hoped for a son. However, Scarlett's baby turned out to be a rather ugly little girl. They named her Ella Lorena. After Ella's birth, Scarlett told herself she was definitely not having any more children. Her waist was not quite as small and pretty as it used to be. In all this time, Rhett Butler had not been to visit Scarlett once, and she had not seen him. Rhett had returned to New Orleans for a time, but no one in Atlanta knew the reason why. When he returned to Atlanta, he shocked everyone in society by becoming friends with a woman named Belle Watling. Belle owned a house of prostitutes in Atlanta, and no one who thought of themselves as good and proper would speak to her. Every mother told her daughter to stay away from Belle. Rhett, of course, had never cared what people thought of him. People had seen him entering Belle's house. Soon the most terrible things were being said about Rhett, but as usual, he did not care. Scarlett, of course, had heard all the talk about Rhett, and she believed it. "So he really is a terrible man. Just what I thought," she said to Frank one evening. Frank agreed with her. Although Scarlett didn't really like being married, Frank was all right, and she liked him. Often they had pleasant evenings together. Frank would think to himself that Scarlett was such a sweet, pretty, charming little wife, when she had her way. Scarlett didn't like always having to be sweet, because sometimes she was tired from working with Ashley in her factory's office and would lose her temper. She didn't want to come home and have to be a good little wife to Frank, but they got along well most of the time. Time passed. A few months after Ella Lorena's birth, Scarlett noticed that Frank was staying out more often, late into the night. She knew that Frank wasn't with another woman because he was not the kind of man to do such things. Frank always told her he was working late at his store. Melanie told Scarlett that Ashley also was staying out late as well. Both women thought that their men must be drinking together after work. Melanie was very worried about Ashley. Scarlett didn't mind Frank being out, because then he wouldn't bother her. Neither one of the women knew the truth. After the war was over, the South's black slaves had been given their freedom by the Northerners. Now, many of the young black men walked the streets of Atlanta, doing whatever they wanted. While most of the black people were trying to find work, feed their families, and live in the new society, some of the former slaves were drinking all day and causing much trouble for the white women. Some women had almost been seriously hurt by these men. However, the new laws made by Northerners made it illegal to punish a former slave. Frank and Ashley had become part of a secret group of Southern men called the Ku Klux Klan. If a Southern woman was hurt by a black man, the Ku Klux Klan would try to find the black man who had done it and kill him. Frank and Ashley had been going out at night and having meetings with other men who belonged to this group. Sometimes these men would go to the little towns where former slaves lived and threaten them. But when Scarlett put herself into danger, things became very bad. Scarlett had decided to drive herself around Atlanta in a carriage alone, with no man to protect her. She would go to the factory and return to Aunt Pitty Pat's home, where she and Frank lived, by herself. Frank, Melanie, Aunt Pitty Pat, and even Ashley begged her not to do this.
"Why don't you get Uncle Peter to drive you around?"
Frank asked. But Scarlett was stubborn. "Frank, I can get so much more done at the factory if I don't have Uncle Peter waiting for me. It's just easier if I drive alone." One evening, Scarlett was returning home from the factory when she was attacked by a very drunken black man. He was trying to climb into her carriage and steal her money, or worse. Luckily, another black man nearby heard her screams and was able to chase away the attacker. It was about 9 o'clock in the evening when this man returned with the frightened Scarlett, her clothes torn and dirty. Scarlett was shocked and angry to see Frank's reaction. He was very concerned about her, but he said,
"Now, honey, don't you worry your pretty little head about this. I'll take care of everything. Now, I have to work late at the store this evening. Don't wait for me. Just go to bed now."
He kissed her on the cheek and walked out the door. "Well, what is the matter with him? I thought he would be more concerned about his own wife," cried Scarlett. She did not know what Frank was really about to do. Scarlett went to sleep, but when she woke up 6 hours later, Frank was not lying in the bed next to her. Where was he? For some reason, Scarlett felt afraid. She got up and was lighting a candle when she heard a knock on the door. All the servants were sleeping, and so Scarlett was the only one who could answer it. She went downstairs quickly and looked through a window. Rhett was standing on the front porch. Why was he here at this late hour? Scarlett opened the door. "Rhett, what are you doing here? It's so late. And Frank—"
"Scarlett, that's what I'm here about. Come into the living room and sit down. Frank and Ashley went to try and find the black man who attacked you. They're members of a group called the Ku Klux Klan. Maybe you have heard of them."
"Yes, Rhett, I have heard of them. But Frank wouldn't join any group like that. He told me he was working late at the store."
"Well, he's been lying to you, Scarlett. No one thought you should be driving yourself around alone at night. It was certain that you would be attacked by someone, but you insisted on being independent, and Frank and Ashley felt that they had to protect your honor by killing this man. If the Northern police catch members of the Ku Klux Klan, they'll be sent to prison or maybe even killed."
Scarlett sat down. She was too shocked and afraid to say anything. "Rhett, what am I going to do? Where is Frank now?" Rhett took her hand.
"I'm sorry, Scarlett. He's dead. He was killed in the fight."
Scarlett closed her eyes. "Is Ashley all right?"
"Yes."
"How do you know all this, Rhett?" asked Scarlett.
"I heard what had happened to you, so I knew that Frank and Ashley would immediately try to find the man. I saw them leaving Ashley's house at about 10 o'clock. I had to find a horse to follow them. I was able to help Ashley defend himself. We were fighting a group of black men, very strong, but we were able to defend ourselves and escape. But it was too late for Frank. When I arrived, he was already dead. He was killed with a knife."
Scarlett cried out and fainted. Rhett caught her as she fell to the ground, carried her upstairs, and put her into bed. Chapter 16. 3 weeks later, Scarlett was sitting in the living room. She was dressed all in black again, because she was in mourning for Frank. Inside, Scarlett felt terrible. She hadn't loved Frank, but he had been kind to her, and now he was gone. Scarlett made sure no one was watching her before going to the liquor cabinet and taking a drink of liquor. Since that terrible day at Tara, when she had discovered Ellen was dead, Scarlett had been drinking liquor, but it was very important not to let anyone see her doing it. Ladies did not drink alcohol. But Scarlett felt that sometimes she needed a drink to get her through the long days of working. And now that Frank was dead, she had been taking small drinks every day. She would spray herself with perfume after she was done so that no one could tell. Scarlett heard the doorbell ring. Quickly, she sprayed herself with cologne and washed her mouth out with water so that the guest would not smell alcohol. In a moment, Mammy came up the stairs, saying, "Miss Scarlett, It's that Rhett Butler here to see you. I told him you weren't feeling well, but he said he would wait." Like almost everyone in Atlanta, Mammy did not think Rhett was a respectable man, and she wanted Scarlett to stay away from him. "Tell him I'll be down in a minute, Mammy," said Scarlett. Quickly, she sprayed even more perfume on and washed her mouth out. When she arrived in the living room, Rhett was sitting comfortably in a chair.
"Hello, Scarlett,"
he said cheerfully.
"I wanted to see how you were doing. This is the second time I've seen you in that mourning clothing. You just can't seem to keep your husbands alive, can you?"
"Oh, shut up, Rhett. How can you tease me when I feel so terrible?" Scarlett cried and burst into tears. She did feel terrible. Scarlett was feeling guilty, for she believed that she had caused Frank's death. She wasn't sorry about owning a factory and driving around town by herself, but why did Frank have to get himself into a group like the Ku Klux Klan? He wasn't strong enough or smart enough. Truthfully, Scarlett was thinking that if she had never married Frank, none of this would have happened. Sue Ellen would have married him, and Frank would have had the nice, sweet, boring little wife he had always wanted.
"What's the matter, Scarlett?"
Rhett asked, taking her hand. "Oh, Rhett, I think God is punishing me. If I hadn't stolen Frank from Sue Ellen, none of this would have happened. She was supposed to marry him, and I went and married him for his money. And now he's dead. It's probably all my fault. Oh, dear, I'm going to go to hell after I die for this." And Scarlett began to cry harder. Rhett smiled.
"Now, Scarlett, let's try to think about this. You are like a criminal who is not sorry he committed the crime, but is terribly sorry he's going to prison. Now, answer me honestly, Scarlett. Are you really sorry you stole Frank from Sue Ellen?"
"Well, no. I'm not sorry. I did what I had to do," said Scarlett, wiping her eyes.
"Yes, I know that is what you think. It's too bad everyone in Atlanta disagrees with you,"
said Rhett, smiling. Except for Melanie and Ashley, Scarlett really had no friends in Atlanta. Everyone thought she was terrible, first for marrying her sister's man, and then owning a factory. She did not seem like a lady to them. "Oh, I don't care about what those nasty old women think. I did what I had to do to help Tara survive. They don't know that the old South is gone, and people have to change their old ways," said Scarlett angrily.
"Good for you, Scarlett. That's the kind of talk I like to hear from you. Now, really, if you had to do it all over again, would you do anything differently?"
"Well, I suppose not. I am sorry Frank's dead, though. Really, I am. Why did he have to join that group?"
"I suppose Frank thought he had to do something to fight the Northerners and their new laws. Scarlett, you didn't make him join the Ku Klux Klan. That was his decision, and unfortunately it got him killed. Now, almost everyone you know is saying that you made him go out that night to get revenge on that black man. Everyone believes it's your fault he's dead. Everyone except Melanie, you know. She's very loyal to you. But that doesn't matter, Scarlett, so long as you know the truth,"
said Rhett calmly. Scarlett was beginning to feel better. "You're right, Rhett. It is nice to talk to you, when you're not being horrible, that is. You're very smart about these things," she said,
smiling sweetly at him. Rhett laughed.
Well, that's not the nicest thing a woman has said to me, but I suppose I'm grateful. Now, Scarlett, let's talk about something else. You didn't ask me why I came here.
Why are you here? Asked Scarlett.
Well, Scarlett, I am very surprised at myself. You see, I told myself I would never marry any woman, but here I am.
What are you talking about, Rhett? Asked Scarlett, a little annoyed.
Well, Scarlett, I came here to ask you to marry me.
Scarlett stared at him in shock for so long that Rhett laughed.
Well, Mrs. Kennedy, I don't suppose I can spend all my life waiting to catch you between husbands. Who knows who you'll decide to marry next? I decided that I'd better be the next husband, so I can keep you out of trouble,
said Rhett. But there was something else in his eyes, a strange look of emotion that Scarlett had never seen before and did not understand. But, Rhett, this is crazy. Besides, I'm finished with marriage. I'll never marry again, said Scarlett.
But, Scarlett, think of whom you have married, a boy and an old man. Perhaps you should try spending time with someone a little closer to your own age. Besides, have you ever thought of marrying just for fun?
Marrying for fun? Oh, don't be ridiculous, Rhett. Marriage isn't for fun, at least not for the wives. I think the husbands have more fun than anyone else, said Scarlett. Rhett laughed.
I suppose you're right. But nevertheless, I'm asking you to marry me, Scarlett. I think we could have a very good time together.
But you don't love me, and I don't love you, Rhett, said Scarlett. The strange look appeared in Rhett's eyes again. I wonder if he really is in love with me, thought Scarlett. No, that's impossible. He just likes talking to me.
Well, Scarlett, maybe I don't love you, but I think we could have a very good life together. You and I are alike, you know. We can look life in the eyes and do what we have to do. We're both strong and we're both selfish. We don't give a damn about anyone but ourselves. Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about, Scarlett. I think you should consider it,
said Rhett seriously. But, Rhett, I don't love you. I still love...
Don't say it.
Rhett suddenly grabbed Scarlett and pulled her close to him.
I don't want to hear any more about your stupid Frank or your stupid Ashley Wilkes. You need someone like me, someone who understands you the way that others never have. Say you'll marry me. Say yes. Say yes.
Scarlett whispered, I think I'm going to faint. She had never seen Rhett like this before. She remembered the night she had escaped Atlanta during the war, when Rhett had last kissed her. Her body felt hot all over.
Say yes.
And Rhett kissed her. Yes, Scarlett whispered.
You're sure? You don't want to change your mind?
Rhett asked. He let go of her. No, I'm sure. I'll marry you, Rhett. I suppose it would be nice, said Scarlett softly.
Good then,
said Rhett.
We'll be married in New Orleans and spend our honeymoon there, if you like.
Oh, Rhett, I'd love to go to New Orleans, Scarlett cried. I've never been there. It must be so fancy. I'll come back to Atlanta with the best clothes, and everyone will be so jealous. Rhett smiled at her delight.
Whatever you like, my dear.
Chapter 17. Scarlett and Rhett were married several days later. Frank Kennedy had not even been dead for 1 month. Everyone in Atlanta was amazed and shocked. Aunt Pitty Pat's friends went to her house and gave her angry lectures. "Pitty Pat, how could you let that girl do all these things?" they said sternly. Pitty Pat cried and worried and said, "But, my dears, it's Scarlet. She's so stubborn. What could I do to stop her?" From the moment she had first arrived in Atlanta in 1862, Scarlet had done some crazy things. She had danced and gone to parties when she was supposed to be in mourning for Charles Hamilton, her first husband. That was bad enough. But then, after the war was over, she had come back to Atlanta and opened a factory. Women weren't supposed to do things like that. Scarlet was a good businesswoman, and her factory had many customers. Women were not supposed to be good at business. She had married her sister's man, Frank Kennedy. No one in Atlanta really understood the reason why Scarlet had done this, but they all thought it was terrible. Poor Sue Ellen! But the worst things that people whispered about Scarlet had to do with Ashley Wilkes. There were some people who knew about her feelings for him, and they wondered what she might do next. Ashley's sister, India Wilkes, had hated Scarlet since they were teenagers, and she knew about Scarlet's feelings for Ashley. "If she tries to hurt Melanie, I'll kill her. I'll make sure she never steps into Atlanta again," India would think to herself angrily. But now, the ladies of Atlanta really did not know what to think. Rhett Butler was the most talked-about man in Atlanta, and Scarlet was the most talked-about woman. And now they were married. Mrs. Merriweather and Mrs. Elsing, two of the most respected women in society, talked about nothing else. Who knew what Rhett and Scarlet were going to do next? Rhett and Scarlet spent 1 month in New Orleans. Scarlet had never been outside of Georgia, and she was excited and amazed by the elegant old city in Louisiana. It was so different from Atlanta. The buildings were much older and more beautiful. The people were different as well. Everyone enjoyed themselves more, eating and drinking until late into the night. It was nice to be around people who wanted to have fun, dance, and go to parties. Everyone in Atlanta was so boring and serious. Scarlet could not stop eating the delicious seafood and drinking the wonderful champagne. "Rhett, I'm going to get as fat as a pig eating all this food," said Scarlet while eating a dish of seafood one evening. "And I almost don't care." Rhett laughed at her excitement.
Go ahead and eat, Mrs. Butler. If you become too large, I suppose I can trade you in for another wife. But what would the fine people of Atlanta say?
"Don't be silly, Rhett. Pass the champagne," said Scarlet. They did have a wonderful time together that month. Rhett knew so much about so many things, and he listened to Scarlet and seemed to respect her opinions, when he wasn't arguing with her, that is. But sometimes Scarlet would notice Rhett staring at her with a strange, soft look of desire in his eyes. But then his face would change, and he never told her what he was thinking. Scarlet tried to ignore it, telling herself that Rhett was just a strange person. "I'll never understand him," she thought to herself. During that month in New Orleans, Scarlet found that she did not think about Ashley at all. Ashley was still in Atlanta, of course, working in her lumber factory's office. It was clear that he was not a good businessman. He wasn't nearly as good at making deals with customers and figuring out numbers as she was. But Scarlett was very patient, and she allowed Ashley to make a lot of mistakes. She was sure that he just needed practice. Melanie was extremely grateful for Ashley's job, and she was always telling Scarlett so. Of course, what Melanie didn't know was that it was Scarlett's love for Ashley, more than anything else, which was the reason for her actions. All through the time she had been married to Frank, Scarlett had still thought of Ashley. She told herself that she had never stopped loving him. She felt that she would do anything to see a smile on Ashley's face, because he always seemed so unhappy. Deep down inside herself, Scarlett knew that the reason Ashley was unhappy was because Scarlett had persuaded him to remain in the South, when he had really wanted to go up north. But she always pushed those thoughts away, telling herself that it was better for Ashley to stay in Atlanta. Melanie was happier here, anyway. Now that she was married to Rhett, Scarlett found that she didn't think of Ashley because she and Rhett were always doing such exciting things. Rhett certainly knew how to treat a lady when he wasn't saying such nasty things and laughing at her. Every day in New Orleans, they went shopping or dancing. Scarlett was excited to discuss where they would live in Atlanta and the kind of house they would have.
Rhett, I want our house to be the largest and prettiest in Atlanta. All the women who have talked about me will just die with jealousy. I don't want any old, boring house. I want it to be in the most modern style with the newest furniture. We'll entertain people on the weekends, and I can finally be a great lady, just like my mother was, said Scarlett. Rhett smiled.
My dear, this house sounds like it will be a disaster, because all the newest styles are terribly ugly. But if that is what you would like, then go ahead and decorate. As for us giving parties, you may find that no one in Atlanta will come to them. We'll see.
Oh, don't be mean, Rhett. Of course they'll come to my parties. I'm going to have the best parties and be accepted in society before you know it.
Scarlett, why do you care? I'm afraid it's too late for you to be accepted into society. You have done too many terrible things for people to like you now. But if you would like to try, my dear, I will support you,
he said. Good, said Scarlett. When Scarlett and Rhett returned to Atlanta, Scarlett used Rhett's money to build a large house. Everyone in Atlanta agreed that it was a very modern house.
It's the ugliest thing I have ever seen, my dear. You have terrible taste, I am afraid,
said Rhett. Rhett Butler, how can you say such things about this house? It's beautiful. Just look at all the different colors, said Scarlett angrily. Now that Scarlett was married to Rhett, she was going to the factory less and less often. Truthfully, Scarlett had to admit that although she was often angry with Rhett for something he had said, life with him was fun, and Scarlett had not had much fun for many years. Life had been too difficult after the war, and Scarlett was always thinking of money for Tara and how to get more of it. Tara and Ashley had always been in Scarlett's thoughts. Almost every day, Melanie would come to visit Scarlett and bring her little son Beau over to play with Wade and Ella. Scarlett had to admit to herself that Melanie was a much better mother than she was. All the children loved her because she was kind and gentle and told wonderful stories. She listened to Wade's talk about his friends and his school, and told him all about his brave father Charles. Melanie made little Ella dresses and gave her dolls. Scarlett was not at all like Melanie. She was angry with her children when they were loud, and she did not know how to tell stories and play with them the way Melanie did. Scarlett hadn't wanted any of her pregnancies, and so she did not really know her children, especially Wade. Wade loved his mother, but he was rather afraid of her. He preferred to spend time with Mammy, Melanie, and especially Rhett. Wade was very happy when Rhett married his mother. He loved Rhett because Rhett was very kind to him. Scarlett was surprised to learn that Rhett actually liked children. Rhett understood that Wade had never had a father, and his mother did not pay much attention to him. Rhett became like a father to Wade, and Wade loved him. "My children love you and Melanie more than me," Scarlett said one afternoon, watching Melanie play with Wade, Bo, and Ella outside their house. She was a little jealous.
"My dear, you aren't a mother to them. Poor Wade is lonely, and Ella barely knows who you are. They spend more time with Mammy than they do you. How can you be surprised?"
said Rhett calmly. "Well, oh, never mind. They wouldn't have food to eat if I hadn't worked so hard," said Scarlett angrily. She didn't want to admit that Rhett was right. Melanie heard Scarlett and Rhett's conversation. "Oh, darling, please don't be upset with me. We know you love Wade and Ella, and they love you. And you've worked so hard for them, hasn't she, Rhett?" Melanie looked anxious, because she never liked to see Scarlett upset. "And it is so wonderful for me to play with Ella. I wish I could have a daughter, Scarlett. You're so lucky," Melanie said softly. Years ago, Melanie's doctor had told her that she could never have any more children because she was so small and thin. Having Bo had nearly killed her. If she tried to have another child, she would almost certainly die. But Melanie wanted another child deeply. "Well, Melanie, she certainly is a loud, silly child. You can have her," said Scarlett, but she tried to smile. Because Melanie loved children so much, she was extremely happy to learn a few weeks later that Scarlett was pregnant again. "Scarlett, darling, I'm so happy for you. Would you like a boy or a girl this time?" she said. "I don't care," said Scarlett angrily. "Oh, dear, I don't want to be pregnant again. I hate it. I have too much work to do at the factory with Ashley." In the past few weeks, Scarlett's lumber factory was receiving more customers than it ever had before, and Scarlett had to go and help Ashley with all the accounts. When Scarlett brought up the subject with Rhett, however, he was firm.
"My dear, you're not going to work at that silly factory while you're pregnant, and that's final. I won't have my future child's ridiculous mother put him or her in danger from all the dust and dirt of the factory."
"But Rhett, business is doing so well, and I have to help Ashley with all the customers. He still hasn't learned some important skills," said Scarlett.
"Scarlett, you can argue with me all you want, but you are not going to that factory,"
Rhett said.
"I don't care what the Honorable Mr. Wilkes does all day. I am sure that you are both dying for each other's company,"
he said.
"But my child is not going to be around a dirty, disgusting factory with those hopeless people you employ."
Scarlett was furious. "Oh, you don't understand Ashley at all. After all these years, you still don't. He's good and honorable. You're jealous, that's it. Do you think that when I'm going over to the factory that Ashley and I are—"
No, Scarlett. I know that you haven't done anything like that. The problem is Ashley is too much of a coward. He won't just say to himself, I want Scarlett, and take you away like any other man would. That would be respectable. But Ashley feels too loyal to Melanie for that. But he isn't really loyal to her, because he is always thinking about you.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I won't go to the factory if you're going to be so difficult. You're jealous, that's all, Scarlett said angrily, and ran out of the room. In her bedroom, she stared at herself angrily in the mirror. There was something about Rhett's comments that bothered her, but she could not understand it. Truthfully, Scarlett and Ashley rarely had the chance to speak together alone these days, because Scarlett was always so busy making sure that Archie was keeping the workers busy or finding new customers. Scarlett did not question that she still loved Ashley, but she did not think about it as often as she used to. Why had she ever married a man like Rhett Butler? What had she been thinking? He was so stubborn and rude. And now she was going to have his baby. Scarlett's cheeks turned extremely red at the memory of that one night. A month ago, it had been exciting and strange. Charlie and Frank had never treated her like that. Scarlett sighed and wondered what she and Rhett's child would be like. If I have to have another baby, I hope it's a good-looking child with some character and spirit, not like Wade and Ella, she thought. Chapter 18. 8 months later, Scarlett and Rhett's child was born. She was a girl, and she was named Eugenie Victoria, after the British Queen. Scarlett was relieved to see that she was an absolutely beautiful baby. She had Scarlett's black hair and large blue eyes like her father. What amazed Scarlett most, however, was Rhett's reaction to becoming a father. Scarlett had never seen a man act so ridiculous. Rhett talked about nothing else but his new daughter, how pretty she was, how sweet and quiet, and how she was the best baby in the world.
Just look at her,
Rhett said a week after the baby's birth.
Have you ever seen a more beautiful baby? You're going to be the most beautiful girl in Atlanta and have everything you want. And everyone is going to love you. And when it's time for you to get married, well, Daddy will find you the best husband in the world.
Scarlett said, Well, Rhett, doesn't her mother get any praise? She's my child, too, after all. You certainly are acting ridiculous.
Ridiculous? She's the only person who has ever completely belonged to me, and nothing is going to be too good for her.
Well, Rhett, I'm your wife, aren't I? I belong to you, said Scarlett. Rhett gave her a strange look and said nothing. Melanie admired the baby as much as Rhett did and visited almost every day. Scarlett thought that Melanie looked as if she would break if you touched her. She was so tiny and thin. Aren't Eugenie's eyes blue, Rhett? Melanie said one day while Rhett was holding the baby. I think they're going to be pea green when she's older, almost like mine, said Scarlett. Oh, no, I think they're going to be blue as the bonny blue flag, said Melanie, kissing the baby.
That's it. We'll call her Bonnie. Eugenie is such a formal name, don't you think?
Said Rhett. Bonnie Blue Butler, said Melanie, and everyone laughed. Little Bonnie seemed to agree with her name because she smiled at her father. Rhett took Bonnie everywhere with him. Although the ladies of Atlanta still did not think Rhett was a good, respectable man, they had to admit it was very charming to see a man so interested in his daughter. Men weren't often seen with babies, and every woman knew that men really liked sons the best. But Rhett said that he preferred girls.
Except for Wade Hamilton, he's my favorite boy.
Rhett would say, patting Wade on the shoulder. Rhett wanted to make sure that Wade knew he was still loved, although he had 2 younger sisters that needed a lot of attention. Mammy decided that Mr. Rhett was a fine, respectable gentleman after all, when she saw how good he was with the children, especially Bonnie. Besides, Rhett was always saying that Mammy was the real leader of the house, and constantly asked her opinion on childcare. Mammy certainly liked that. As time passed, Rhett became very concerned with his daughter's social opportunities.
Even if her father isn't accepted in Atlanta, Bonnie is going to have every opportunity in the world. There's not going to be anywhere she can't go. If this means I have to charm all those old lady friends of Aunt Pittypat's, I'll do it. If I have to make friends with the Northerners, I'll do that too. And Scarlett, you're not going to go to that factory of yours anymore. I admire your determination, but leave the work to Archie and Ashley. I won't have Bonnie's mother running around town for a factory. Bonnie isn't going to suffer for her parents' mistakes.
Rhett, I have never seen a man act this way about a baby, Scarlett said. But she agreed to spend less time at the factory. She did not really enjoy the work, although she did miss seeing Ashley. Many months went by, and Bonnie was quickly growing into a beautiful little girl. She walked and talked very well. She was cheerful, and Rhett could not stop talking about how smart she was. Scarlett felt almost jealous of her daughter, for Rhett spent so much time with her. And, although Bonnie loved her mother, Rhett was clearly her favorite. She would not allow anyone else to put her to bed at night. Scarlett was concerned that Rhett would ruin Bonnie's good character, for he gave her anything she wanted. But Rhett did not pay any attention to Scarlett's scolding. The next few years passed quickly and quietly. Scarlett and Rhett raised the children, and Scarlett continued to work at the factory. Bonnie and Rhett went everywhere together, and Scarlett was surprised to see that Rhett was really trying to make himself popular with the people of Atlanta for Bonnie's future. And it was working. Rhett told all Aunt Pittypat's friends that he was truly sorry for all the things he had said and done over the years. This wasn't true, of course, but Rhett was such a good actor that the ladies of Atlanta believed him. Soon, Rhett and Scarlett's house was filled with visitors. One day, when Bonnie was 4 years old, Scarlett went to the factory in an especially good mood. It was Ashley's birthday, and Melanie was giving him a surprise birthday party. Scarlett was wearing a new hat, and the day was beautiful. She was smiling as she walked up the steps to the factory office. Inside, Ashley was sitting at the desk working on some accounts. Scarlett stood at the door and noticed that Ashley's blonde hair was turning gray. "And he's only 27 years old," thought Scarlett. She had not spoken to Ashley alone in so long. Was he happy? Suddenly, Ashley turned around and saw Scarlett watching him.
"Hello, Scarlett,"
he said, smiling at her.
"Are you here to see the latest mistakes I've been making?"
"Oh, Ashley, I think when I have a new hat on, all the numbers I ever knew fly right out of my head," Scarlett said, and laughed. Ashley laughed with her.
Are you here to distract me for a while so that Melanie has time to prepare for my birthday party?
Ashley, how did you know about the party? It was supposed to be a surprise, Scarlett cried. Ashley smiled.
Well, Melanie isn't very good at hiding her excitement about things like this, so I guess the truth.
They sat down by the window and did not say anything for a while. Scarlett thought to herself how comfortable she felt, sitting there with this man who had known her for years. After a while, Ashley said,
I swear, Scarlett, you get prettier every day. You still look like that young girl at 12 Oaks the day of the barbecue when you were 16. And I'm getting old and gray-haired.
Oh, Ashley, you're not old. You still have lots and lots of years left. And people in your family are gray-haired early, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Of course, there are so few of my family left here now,
said Ashley softly. Scarlett knew what he was thinking. He was thinking of the days of his youth and of the old South before the war. She suddenly felt incredibly sad. Their lives were so different now. Oh, Ashley, don't look back. Don't look back into the past before the war. It's hard, isn't it? If you remember the past too much, soon you can't do anything else.
Why, Scarlett, that's the most beautiful thing I have ever heard you say, and the truest thing. You are right,
said Ashley. He put his arm around her, and Scarlett leaned her head against his shoulder. They stood there like that for a few moments. Scarlett was surprised to realize that she did not feel as if she and Ashley were being romantic. She only felt as if they were warm friends who understood one another. Suddenly, she saw Ashley's face change, and he moved away from her. She looked at the office door and saw India Wilkes, Ashley's sister, and Rhett staring at them. India looked as if she was thinking, "There, I've caught the two of you." Rhett had a look on his face that Scarlett could not understand. He turned and walked away. Mammy came up the stairs and knocked on the door to Rhett and Scarlett's room. "Miss Scarlett, I brought your dress for the party tonight." "Mammy, tell Rhett that I'm not going. I have a headache," said Scarlett from inside the room. She was lying in her bed, feeling deeply afraid. What would India say to everyone, and especially to Melanie? What would Melanie think? Somehow, Scarlett could not stand the thought of Melanie thinking badly of her. She still thought Melanie was ridiculous and silly, but as she lay there in the bed, Scarlett thought that she would rather cut off her own arm than have Melanie be hurt. Suddenly, there was a quick knock on the door, and Rhett came into the room.
"Get up out of that bed, Mrs. Butler,"
he said.
"You're going to that party, and you're going to face all the people there. It's only what you deserve, Scarlett."
"Rhett, I have a headache.
Nonsense. You're a coward, Scarlett. You and Ashley are both cowards. You're going over to the Wilkes house if I have to drag you. You can't deny Melanie the pleasure of ordering you out of her house. You've wanted Ashley for years, Scarlett, and you have to face the consequences of your actions."
Scarlett was furious. For once, Rhett really didn't understand. "Rhett, it wasn't like that at all. If you would only give me a chance, I could explain everything."
"My dear, I understand perfectly. Now, here's your dress. I will come and get you in 10 minutes,
said Rhett, and left the room. When Rhett and Scarlett arrived at the Wilkes house, Rhett opened the door of the carriage and said quietly,
Good night, Scarlet.
You mean you're not coming in with me? Said Scarlet. She was afraid. Oh, what would everyone say when they saw her? She knew India. India hated her. She would have told everyone.
No, Scarlet. You are going to have to face them alone,
said Rhett, but he no longer sounded angry. Scarlet walked up the steps of the house and knocked at the door. She was shaking. Oh, to see the angry look on Melanie's face. The door opened and Scarlet stepped into the room. When the people at the party saw Scarlet, they immediately stopped talking. Scarlet turned red, so they knew. Suddenly, Melanie stepped forward. Scarlet, darling, I'm so happy you could come, she said in a loud voice. Would you be a dear and help me greet my guests? India wasn't able to come tonight, and I would love your company, she said gently. Scarlet was stunned. Had India not told Melanie what had happened? Why was Melanie being so kind to her? As Melanie took Scarlet's arm, there was a very firm expression on her face as she took Scarlet's arm. As they began to greet the guests, Melanie looked as if she was daring anyone to be rude to Scarlet. Slowly, the guests realized that Melanie had no intention of making Scarlet leave. They greeted Scarlet with "Good evening" in cold voices and tried to enjoy the party. When Scarlet returned to her own house, she entered quietly, hoping Rhett wouldn't hear her. She was exhausted, and she wanted time to think about what had happened alone. But as she passed the dining room, she heard Rhett call out to her.
Good evening, Mrs. Butler. Come in here for a moment.
Scarlet entered the dining room. Rhett was sitting there with a glass in front of him and an almost empty bottle of liquor on the table. Although he sat up straight, Scarlet knew that he was very, very drunk. What is it? You're drunk. I can see that. I'm tired, and I want to go to bed, said Scarlet.
You're right, my dear. I am very drunk. And I can see that you need a drink, too. Yes, don't look at me as if I were crazy. I'm not a fool. I know you drink, and I know how much you drink. So here is a glass. I am sure you need some liquor after the evening you've just had.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm not drinking that. I'm not going to talk to you when you're acting like this. Tonight was awful, Scarlet said angrily.
I know that it was,
said Rhett. He got up and closed the door to the dining room.
So, what happened, Scarlet? I can see from your face that you're wondering many things. I think I can answer some of the questions in your head. You're wondering why Melanie didn't order you out of her house. Don't think it's because India didn't tell her everything she suspects about you and Ashley. Melanie knows, but she didn't believe anything India told her. She accused India of lying to her and being jealous of you. And India is jealous of you. I know that much. Melanie isn't able to believe that anyone she loves could be dishonorable. And she loves you. I don't know why, since you've wanted to take her husband away from her for years.
You're drunk and awful. I'm not going to say this again. It wasn't like that. If you would just let me explain, said Scarlet. Rhett suddenly grabbed her.
My dear, I could crush you like a little bird in my hands, and I would, if I thought that it would make all the thoughts of Ashley Wilkes leave your head.
Scarlet's green eyes sparkled with anger. Rhett Butler, you take your hands off me, she hissed like a snake. Rhett let go of her.
You have always had an admirable spirit, my dear,
he said more calmly.
Anyway, I have come to tell you that I am leaving tomorrow. I'm taking Bonnie with me on a long trip, and I don't know when we'll be back."
"Are you crazy, Rhett Butler? I'm not letting you take my child on a trip alone. You'll probably let her spend time with people like that Belle Watling you were friends with. You don't know the first thing about nice, proper people," she said. Scarlett saw that she had made a mistake in saying this. She had never seen Rhett give her such an angry look.
"You stupid fool,"
he said coldly.
"I'm a much better parent to Bonnie than you are. Who are you to tell me about nice, proper people after what you did today? And how dare you suggest that I would ever let Bonnie spend time with anyone like Belle Watling? Do you think I want her chances to be ruined?"
he said. He turned and left the room. Scarlett did not see the sadness and pain in his eyes, and even if she had, she would not have understood. Chapter 19. When Scarlett woke up the next morning, Rhett and Bonnie were gone. The next 3 months were terribly boring, without Bonnie's happy laughter and Rhett's conversation. When Scarlett saw Rhett's carriage arriving at the house, she felt happy and excited. But then she remembered the terrible argument they had had before Rhett had left. Surely Rhett wasn't interested in her any more. Well, she wasn't going to make a fool of herself in front of him. "Mother!" cried Bonnie, running to Scarlett. "Daddy brought me a kitten, and I rode a lot of trains. I missed you, Mother." "I missed you too, Bonnie, and you sure are pretty, darling. What a big girl," said Scarlett. Then she turned to see Rhett standing in the doorway.
"Hello, Mrs. Butler,"
he said, smiling calmly at her. Scarlett felt almost embarrassed. "Hello, Rhett. Are you staying here or leaving again?"
"I am leaving again. I came to drop Bonnie off. She missed her mother,"
Rhett said. For some reason, Scarlett felt extremely disappointed. "Well, all right then. I'll see you when you get back," she said, trying to act as if she didn't care. Rhett looked closely at her for a long time. He was trying to discover what his wife was really thinking.
"Well, but perhaps I will stay after all. Bonnie probably needs me here. Both her parents should take care of her, don't you think?"
"Well, do what you like. I don't care," said Scarlett. But inside she was relieved. She didn't want Rhett to leave again, even though they had fought. So Rhett stayed, and the months passed. Neither Scarlett nor Rhett forgot what had happened between them. They could speak to one another pleasantly, but Rhett was gone from the house much of the time. Scarlett noticed that he was drinking more as well. Rhett and Scarlett did not argue because they did not want to upset Bonnie. Scarlett and Rhett did not sleep in the same room any more, and Scarlett was not as happy. Truthfully, Scarlett missed the talks she and Rhett used to have, but she was afraid to tell Rhett so. She was sure he would just be nasty and make fun of her. Bonnie was now 4.5 years old, and she was learning to ride a pony. She loved her pony and always wanted to ride it everywhere. Rhett had been teaching her how to ride, and the people of Atlanta were always interested to see Rhett on his giant horse, walking slowly besides the little girl on the pony. Soon, Rhett began to teach Bonnie how to jump her pony over little boards. He was very careful to only give the pony very small jumps, only a few inches high. But Bonnie always wanted to make the pony jump higher. I can do it, Daddy, she would say.
No, Bonnie, not until you're older, darling,
Rhett would say. Although Rhett almost always gave Bonnie everything she wanted, he was very firm about her jumping the pony safely. But Bonnie, like her mother, was very stubborn. One afternoon, Scarlett was sitting outside in the yard sewing some clothing. Bonnie was walking her pony around in its yard, which had a fence around it. She was thinking how pretty her daughter was and how smart. Bonnie was much smarter than her older sister, Ella. She's certainly going to be trouble when she's older. Rhett lets her have anything she wants, Scarlett thought. She wondered what Bonnie would be like at 16 years old. She would probably be the most beautiful girl in Atlanta, and she would be able to get any boy she wanted. Or at least, Bonnie would think so. Why, she'll be just like me when I was that age, thought Scarlett suddenly, smiling to herself. Scarlett remembered her flirtations with boys, her determination to have Ashley, and her anger when he rejected her the day at 12 Oaks. I was so young then, she thought. What will Bonnie do if things don't turn out as she wants them to? Her thoughts were interrupted by Rhett, who had come out into the yard.
Hello, my dear. Isn't it a lovely day?
Yes, it is. What are you doing home? I thought you were going out this afternoon, said Scarlett.
Scarlett, I wanted to talk to you,
Rhett said.
I don't want us to be so formal with one another. We did get along so well once. I want to give our marriage a chance, a real chance. Let's go away somewhere for a while. Sell all your interest in the factory to Ashley and let's go away. We could take Bonnie and go to Europe, for example.
Scarlett felt strange inside. What was Rhett trying to say? Rhett, don't be silly. That sounds nice, but I could never leave the house and the other children here, said Scarlett. Besides, why do you want to work on our marriage now? Don't you think you should have said something years ago? She felt a little angry and also confused.
Well, it's not too late, is it? The fact is that you are the mother of my child, and I want Bonnie to have a happy home,
said Rhett. However, Scarlett had the feeling that he meant more than he was saying. But what? Well, I don't know, said Scarlett. I'll have to think about it, I suppose. Mother, watch me jump, cried Bonnie, sitting on top of her pony. Watch me, Daddy.
Bonnie, don't make the pony jump too high. It's not safe yet. Remember what I told you,
said Rhett loudly, standing up. I can do it, Daddy. I told you, cried Bonnie.
Oh, all right, Bonnie. But don't cry if you fall off and get hurt then,
said Rhett, smiling. Rhett, don't let her do it, said Scarlett anxiously.
Oh, she'll be all right. She is a good little rider,
said Rhett proudly. Bonnie walked the pony a few steps. Suddenly, she kicked at the pony's sides with her heels and made the pony run. Suddenly, both Scarlett and Rhett saw what their daughter was about to do. Bonnie was going to jump the pony over the high fence.
Bonnie, no!
shouted Rhett. He began to run towards his daughter, but it was too late. The little pony tried to jump the fence, but its legs hit the top. Scarlett screamed as Bonnie flew through the air and hit the ground without moving.
Bonnie! 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 Get up, darling! No, no, no!
Chapter 20. 3 days after Bonnie's death, Melanie was sitting outside Rhett's room,
pale and worried. For 7 days, Rhett had been locked in his room, not eating anything. He had had Bonnie's pony shot, and the hours immediately following Bonnie's death had been horrible. Scarlett could hardly think of them without bursting into tears. Scarlett herself was miserable, but she had never seen anyone act the way Rhett was acting. He had screamed for everyone to stay away from his daughter's body. Now he would not let anyone bury her. Bonnie was lying in a coffin, surrounded with flowers in Rhett's room. He would not speak to Scarlett or anyone else, and he wouldn't let any of them see Bonnie. "Miss Scarlett and Miss Melanie, what are we going to do? We have to bury Miss Bonnie," said Mammy sadly, her eyes filling with tears. "Oh, Miss Scarlett, I have never seen a man so upset. You're strong, Miss Scarlett. You can handle just about anything. No matter how terrible the pain is for you, you can survive this. But Mr. Rhett, I don't know what he'll do," cried Mammy. "Mammy, Scarlett, I'll speak to him. Maybe I can convince him to let go of Bonnie," said Melanie. Scarlett thought to herself that Melanie looked almost dead herself. She looked extremely sick, in fact. "All right, Melanie, see what you can do," said Scarlett. She sat down on a couch and began to cry. Bonnie had been her favorite child. Oh, why did this have to happen? Why? Melanie went up to Rhett's room and knocked on the door.
"Go away,"
yelled Rhett from inside. "Mr. Butler, it's me, Melanie. Please let me in," said Melanie gently. After a moment she opened the door and stepped inside. She did not come out, but Mammy and Scarlett could hear her soft voice speaking. Mammy and Scarlett waited outside Rhett's room for the rest of the night. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, Melanie opened the door and stepped out. She looked exhausted and weak. "Scarlett, I finally persuaded Rhett. He will let us have the funeral," whispered Melanie. "Melanie, I don't know how you did it," said Scarlett. Suddenly, Melanie cried out in pain and fell to the ground. Mammy and Scarlett lifted her up and put her on the couch. Melanie's normally calm face was filled with pain. "Melanie, what's wrong? What happened?" said Scarlett. "Oh, Scarlett, I'm so happy. I'm going to have another baby," said Melanie weakly. "Please don't tell anyone yet. I want it to be a surprise for Ashley. He doesn't know. I'm sure I'm all right. Don't worry about me." "Another baby? Melanie, are you crazy? What did the doctor tell you? You can't have another baby," cried Scarlett. "Oh, no! Mammy, tell Prissy to run and find a doctor." It was 3 days later, 3 long, hard days. Bonnie had been buried quickly and quietly. Only Scarlett, Rhett, Mammy, Ashley, and the children came to the funeral, because Rhett did not want many people to come. Since the funeral, Rhett had been drunk almost all the time. However, when he drank, he was not loud and angry. Instead, he did not speak to anyone. He shut himself up in his room. Scarlett wondered what he was thinking about, but she was too busy
thinking about her own sadness at Bonnie's death. And now, Melanie was extremely ill. Dr. Meade, the Hamilton family's doctor, had told Ashley that Melanie was pregnant again. He did not say much more to Ashley than that. The doctor seemed angry and sad, however, and Scarlett was afraid of what this might mean. Dr. Meade stayed at Ashley and Melanie's house all day and night without leaving. On the third night of Melanie's sickness, Scarlett and Ashley were sitting in the living room, not saying anything. The house was quiet, and little Beau, Ashley and Melanie's son, was sitting next to his father. His small face was pale with fear. Scarlett was thinking about the long years that she had known Melanie. In all that time, she had always thought of Melanie as a silly, ridiculous girl who had no strength or independence. And, more importantly, Melanie had married Ashley. Scarlett had never been able to understand why Ashley had married Melanie instead of her. But now that Melanie seemed so extremely sick, Scarlett realized many things. Melanie had always been strong, stronger than any of them. The kindest people are the strongest and best, thought Scarlett. Melanie had defended Scarlett against all the people who didn't like her. Even though Scarlett had spoken badly of Melanie for years, and had never liked her, and been jealous of her, Melanie had always loved and admired Scarlett. She would not have cared what other people thought. And now, Scarlett was getting the feeling that, deep down inside, Melanie knew how Scarlett had felt all these years. But that didn't stop Melanie from loving and believing in her. She was generous and kind, and she understood people. Melanie is everything that I am not, thought Scarlett. I've never been able to understand the people around me, especially Ashley, and Rhett, too. Scarlett realized that somehow in the past years she had come to love Melanie. She stood up and walked up the stairs to Melanie's room. She can't die! She can't die! Scarlett was thinking. Suddenly, Dr. Meade opened the door to Melanie's room and saw Scarlett.
Come here,
he said. They stepped into another room and the doctor closed the door.
Scarlett, I have some very serious things to say.
Dr. Meade said.
Melanie is not going to survive this night. She will die before morning.
Scarlett cried out in pain.
Be quiet,
Dr. Meade said in a loud whisper.
I won't let you upset the whole house. You have to be calm, Scarlett. Melanie wants to see you. She is in a lot of pain, but she keeps asking to see you. Now, I don't want you to say anything that will upset her. Do you understand, Scarlett?
The doctor looked at Scarlett very firmly.
I want Melanie's last minutes on earth to be peaceful. Just let her talk to you.
Scarlett knew what the doctor meant. He meant that Scarlett must not tell Melanie about her feelings for Ashley, now that Melanie was dying. Scarlett must not admit to Melanie all the bad things she had said about her over the years. I won't, Dr. Meade, said Scarlett. Tears were running down her face as she stepped into Melanie's room. Scarlett, whispered Melanie from her bed. Hello, darling, said Scarlett. She was trying to sound happy, even though she felt that her heart was breaking. Can I make you more comfortable here in bed? We need you to get well. Scarlet, Dr. Meade has told me I won't live, Melanie said softly.
Scarlet was crying silently as she sat by Melanie's bed.
Nonsense, Melanie. You'll be better soon. Be strong, Melanie. Ashley and Bo need you. I need you. Scarlet, my brave Scarlet. I always admired you, Scarlet. You must do something for me. Anything, whispered Scarlet, taking Melanie's hand. Scarlet, look after Ashley when I'm gone. He needs someone. He's not strong like you are. He always speaks so well of you. But never let him know, said Melanie. Scarlet stared into Melanie's large eyes. They were as deep and dark as pools of water. Melanie wanted Scarlet to take care of Ashley, but not to let him know she was doing it. Had Melanie guessed how Scarlet had felt about Ashley? Maybe she does know, thought Scarlet, but it doesn't matter now. Yes, darling, I'll look after Ashley and Bo for you, said Scarlet. Oh, Melanie, you can't leave us. Please don't leave us. And she put her head next to Melanie's and cried. Oh, it was too late. She had realized what Melanie meant to her, but it was too late. Scarlet, don't cry, darling. I know how you feel. And Scarlet, be kind to Rhett. He loves you so, you know. He does? Said Scarlet. All right, Melanie, I'll be kind to him. Anything you want. Dr. Meade opened the door.
Scarlet, Melanie must speak to Ashley and Bo now,
he said quietly. Scarlet kissed Melanie's cheek. Goodbye, darling, was all she could say before leaving. Goodbye, whispered Melanie. Outside the room, Scarlet sat on the floor and cried. She had not cried in years because she was the sort of person that thought that crying did no good. But now, to lose Bonnie and Melanie in the same week! After she had cried out her tears, Scarlet sat there for a while quietly. Suddenly, the door opened and Ashley stepped out of Melanie's room. Scarlet could hear Bo crying.
Mother, don't leave me.
It was a terrible sound.
She's gone, Scarlet. The only person who ever understood me, who ever really knew me, is gone,
Ashley said. Scarlet looked at him, and he seemed almost like an old man. She suddenly realized something so powerful that it almost made her faint. She did not love Ashley. She hadn't loved him for years, and Ashley had never really loved her. Scarlet had not known what love was. When she was 16 years old, she had wanted Ashley the way a child wants a new toy to play with. But somewhere along the way, Ashley had become an old friend, or almost a brother, who shared the memories of the wonderful old days before the war. Scarlet finally realized that Ashley was different, and she had never really known him. But Melanie had known him and loved him for who he was. Ashley was weak, and he had not had the strength to survive after the war had destroyed the South. Scarlet and Ashley would never have been happy together. After so many years, Scarlet realized that Rhett was the one she loved. Rhett had understood her, helped her, laughed at her sometimes, and made her angry. But he really had loved her. Melanie had seen it, even if Scarlett had not. "I've got to tell him that I love him," thought Scarlett. "Oh, all these years I've been so stupid and blind." Ashley stood there staring out the window at the moon and trees. "Ashley, oh Ashley, I'm so sorry," Scarlett said. She put her arms around him, but her arms were those of a friend.
"Scarlett, what am I going to do now? Help me,"
said Ashley. His eyes were red. There was gray in his hair. Scarlett felt she had to leave that house, or she would go crazy with sadness. "I need Rhett," she thought. "Ashley, I have to go now. You'll be all right. Really, you will. I'll help you, my friend," said Scarlett. She ran down the stairs and out of the house before Ashley could answer. Scarlett hurried through the cold mist, thinking about the man she loved. Now, in this time of sadness, she needed Rhett's jokes and laughter. Rhett understood her in a way that no other man ever had. "He was right. I have been selfish and stubborn. We are a lot alike," thought Scarlett. "How could I not have seen the truth? We belong together." Scarlett saw her house on the top of the hill. All the lights were on, and it looked warm and comforting. She ran up the steps and into the house, crying out, "Rhett, Rhett, where are you?" She heard Rhett's quiet voice.
"I'm in the dining room, Scarlett,"
he said. Scarlett entered the dining room. Rhett was sitting at the table, but he was not drinking. He looked calm and quiet, and very sad somehow. "Oh, Rhett, Melanie's dead," cried Scarlett.
"I thought her death would be soon. She was so weak,"
said Rhett quietly.
"Well, she was the best of us. Melanie was the greatest woman I ever knew, and I will miss her. She was a truly kind person, and that takes true bravery."
Suddenly his face changed.
"I suppose Melanie's death makes it easy for you and Ashley now, Scarlett,"
he said.
"You can have each other."
"Oh, Rhett, how could you think that I would do that? I know it doesn't make sense, but I really did love Melanie. I don't know why I didn't realize it sooner. I'm stubborn, I guess, and... Oh, Rhett, I don't love Ashley. I never really did. When I was a girl, I wanted to marry him, but I didn't really know what love was. But now I understand everything, Rhett. I've been so stupid. But I love you, darling," Scarlett said passionately.
"Scarlett, Scarlett,"
Rhett said. His voice was tired and quiet. He did not seem like his usual self. Why wasn't he happy?
"What do you mean, you love me?"
"Darling, I've loved you for years, only I didn't see it. But now I do see it. Oh, Rhett, I'm so sad about Melanie and Bonnie, but I'm so happy because I have you. Kiss me."
"Scarlett, it isn't going to be like that. I waited here for you tonight because I have something to tell you. I'm leaving, Scarlett. I can't live here anymore."
"But why, Rhett?" Scarlett said.
"Scarlett, I always loved you, and I thought you knew it. You're so cruel to the people who love you, Scarlett. You take their love and use it like a sword. I saw you do this with Charles Hamilton, with Frank, and then with me. When Bonnie was born, I imagined that she was just like you as a little girl. I thought I could win your love somehow by treating Bonnie so well. But when Bonnie died, she took everything. I'm tired, Scarlett. You have taken all the love out of me. So I'm leaving now. I'm going to find a quiet place somewhere where the Old South still exists, where I can rest.
Rhett, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't leave me. I love you so. I understand things now. We can have a new life together, cried Scarlett. Rhett smiled gently.
Oh, Scarlett, you can't say I'm sorry and take all the past away. It's too late, my dear. I am leaving now, this minute.
But Rhett, don't you understand what I'm saying? Cried Scarlett. She was miserable. How could this be happening?
I do understand how you feel, my darling. But Scarlett, after so many years, honestly, I don't give a damn.
Rhett looked at her gently and kissed her on the cheek. Scarlett was too shocked to say anything. She watched him walk out of the dining room, out the door, and disappear into the cold, misty night.
She closed the door and sat down on the steps.
Oh, what am I going to do? How can I make Rhett understand that I love him? She cried out to herself. She had never felt unhappier in her life, not even when she found out Ellen was dead. Oh, I can't think about it now, Scarlett said out loud. I'll go crazy if I think about it all now. I'll think about it tomorrow. At Tara! The wonderful home of her youth called out to her. No matter what else Scarlett lost in her life, she still had Tara. She had struggled and fought for it. Scarlett wanted to see the green cotton fields and the peaceful sunset. She wanted to sit on the porch and remember the old days. She needed to think about Rhett and about the future. Scarlett stood up. The old determination was in her eyes. I'll go home. Home to Tara, she said. At Tara, I'll think about a way to get Rhett back. Tomorrow. After all, tomorrow is another day.